We're going live.
Go ahead, Grim.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to D&D After Dark again, podcast of the Tabletop Dungeoneers. So I'm Grim DM, obviously, and we've got Zero and It's a Critical. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, man?
What's up?
How's everybody doing?
What's everyone been working on over the last week?
I knocked out 3 videos yesterday. I was home by myself. Both kids was in school. I'm like, heck, why not?
Here, I've been working on organizing my mini table space, which is all a mess right now again.
Oh, gee, I wonder where you got that book from.
Yeah, I was gonna say shout out to Crit for the awesome Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. I appreciate it, man. I was surprised when you sent that to me, dude. That's
well,
cool.
Bill sent it to me, and I figured I already got a copy, so
yeah, no, that's
why not pass it on?
Yeah, definitely. And I love Forgotten Realms, dude. I love the Sword Coast. So, I mean, I wish the book was more involved with Faerun, but I mean, it is what it is, you know.
That other book that Bill sent me, that I won that contest in,
yeah,
at Greenwoods. Oh my gosh, so much, and it's
you lucky bastard, dude. That's a good book.
It is, and
yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, it was printed for 4th edition, but he's right. You can use it for any system, any edition.
What's up, Hate? Hate's on there. Who says?
Oh, what's up, Hate?
He's been waiting since 8 o'clock this morning. Get online, guys.
I didn't know if I was going to make it because our fridge died yesterday.
Ooh.
And we thought, oh, maybe it'll be all right. We just changed the PowerPoint, woke up this morning, and it was dead. So I had to order a fridge online this morning. It was like $600,
Yeah.
and then a 4-hour drive down here to the motel. But I've been writing little bits on my campaign world, and making a couple of videos for my channel. Yeah,
the campaign world videos are actually pretty cool. I dig them, and I think that there's not enough of that kind of. I mean, there's a ton of D&D videos, but I think the information you're putting out is worthwhile. It's definitely some not, this is just cool, but this is how it can be done. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing. Just like your videos, Crit. Like when you put your videos out about using those different types of tools, things that are outside the box, that's good stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait for you to get those story dice and those
yeah. That story's awful cool.
Well, I can't remember where I got the idea, but I seen it like some other YouTubers use it and stuff too. I'm like, a lot more people need to know about this.
I wanted to show you guys something real quick. I made this like a year ago. I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera.
That dice roll initiative.
Yeah.
Wow.
Roll initiative, right? Now I found this picture online, and what I did was I bought one of those wood burners, the wood burning kits, and I just engraved it. And I coated it, and it's a dice box,
Sweet. I've been thinking of doing something similar for a DM screen.
I found this online just this week.
Yeah.
Roll initiative, but gee, that's where you got the picture from.
Yeah.
What I did, do you like the landscape or the horizon one on your DM screens, Grim?
I like the taller sort of A4 sized panels personally, just because it's easier to keep a laptop behind it.
Yep.
And notebooks and stuff, because I'm used to the 2nd edition second printing, so it's actually 2 screens, so it's 6 panels, so I've got a nice area for laptop and notebook and dice and all that.
I think the 3.5 one that I still have the 3.5 one, and it was tall enough, and it had four sheets, but they were big, they were full size, so I could put my laptop, and I've got like a 19-inch screen laptop because I'm blind as hell, so I have a huge laptop screen, but that it hid behind it, no problem. You know what I'm saying? It worthwhile, because I could put monsters back there, and you get the players every once in a while, like
what you could do.
It was big enough to be like
his Rivers.
There you go.
Who's this Dwarven Forge guy?
Yeah,
Rivers. No.
Who's this Dwarven Forge guy?
Cujo.
Fresh out of the shower.
Look at that clean boy.
Real quick for everybody who's watching, this is Cujo with the Overboard DM, and it looks like we've got Rivers in there from what's his channel again? Rivers RPG.
I think it's Rivers RPG.
Rivers RPG. That's right.
Rivers, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
But
Rivers, do me a favor, man. You got to boost your mic up. We can't hear you. Cujo.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Check.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Is that better?
Yeah, a little. Say it again.
A little.
Hello.
Good. A little better.
Yeah,
a
that's
little more.
good.
A little more. A little bit.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yep, that's
Perfect.
good.
There you go.
Awesome.
Grim, what I was going to suggest is you could buy like 3 binders, three ring binders, and some sheet protectors, and make your own with like duct tape. That's what I did with mine. I just found what I like online and just slip them in.
I've seen a few guys do that and like clip them together, but I think I might get some really thin ply and fine hinges and just do a hinge one, a bit more sturdy, and then I can actually like stick. Like I just print the tables out that I want.
You know
and
what's
stick
really
it
good
on.
for that? MDF.
Let me show you mine.
MDF board is really good for that because it's like it's thin, but it's you can screw into it and not destroy it.
Yeah.
You can put little hinges on it. I was thinking about doing the same thing, and like wood engraving and some stuff for my screen. But
Yeah, I thought I'll try that, and if it's shit, I'll just varnish a picture onto it or something.
So here's mine. This is the one that I did the video on. Was the second one I made, but this was my first one. And I just took duct tape and sheet protectors with 3 old binders I had, and it's honestly it's sturdy as hell.
That's straight urban commando, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 2 different colors and stuff. Like my friends are like, "Yo, yeah, we got the official screen." I'm like, "Okay." They looked at mine and they go, "Wow, yours has a lot more information." And I'm like,
RollStats is on. He said he's talking to Hate right now. He's saying what's up. Almighty's on as well.
Yep.
Thanks for joining the chat.
Almighty says he thinks he started using a smaller size screen just to roll dice behind. And
okay, I will hear it too.
Almighty, yeah, I mean, if that's all you're doing, if you're just rolling dice, the small screen's fine. The one I got with the new the 5th edition book, it's a really short screen. So I mean, if to travel with, it's not bad. But I mean, where I play, I already have my dungeon master screen. So like I said, I have the 3.5 one, so that's my preferred one. But the little one is nice. Like I said, if you don't have one, it's great for traveling and taking with you because it's just compact. Nothing wrong with that.
So maybe we'll get on to like the first topic because I'm sure this is gonna spur a whole lot of tangents and that. But we were gonna have a chat about rules lawyers. So this is probably from a player's point of view and a DM's point of view. How to deal with rules lawyers at the table, good, bad, or otherwise, people's experiences, and their strategies to prevent it.
We're also going to talk about dealing with problem players.
Yeah. So
I want to caveat this whole video before we even start. This is nothing personal against anybody specific or anything like that. This is not directed towards anyone. We're going to try to do our best, I'm sure, not to offend anybody or be offensive to anybody. But that being said, this is a situation where we're looking at it from a dungeon master's perspective and how we choose to deal with those types of players. And whether you who are watching is one of those players or not, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about you unless you're getting pissed off and you're angry. You probably are that problem player. So with that being said, let's get into it.
So I don't know. I guess I'll go first. I'm pretty vocal about dealing with problem players, and I think another caveat or things for players and DMs to keep in mind when it comes to rules, everyone makes mistakes. I can't possibly know every single rule and variation of rules in all the books. Players can own. You're right. Players might own supplements and books and have read up on it more than I have. If I make a mistake on a ruling, that's going to happen. I think the key to dealing with rules lawyer type players is the Secession Zero that we talked about in the last episode, setting the expectations. Like, if it's going to take any more than 30 seconds to sort of come to a decision, I'm just going to make a ruling, and at the end of the session, we can just discuss it in a bit further detail and maybe come to a bit more of an agreement about it. I'm always fair, and people can use their characters and role play to discuss a situation or a rule or something that they're trying to do. And because I'm a firm believer in story trumps rules. If you come up with an awesome thing that's like, semi-plausible, but it really adds to the experience everyone's doing, like you think it's some like sort of crazy idea, I'll probably let you do it. Well, I was DMing one session, and these people were sort of hiding in this cavern, and this wizard did this spell of like transmute stone to mud. So the floor fell away from them at a 45-degree angle, and they were sliding through this mountain. Now, one of the players like, well, I'm going to jump on my shield quickly and ride it like a toboggan down the mudslide. There's no rules for that. And the chances of actually pulling that off when you're wearing armor and all that, pretty slim. But I'm just like, yep, that's cool. And I just let it happen because that's fun. But in the same way, like, if you want to say that you're wearing full plate mail and you can take a running jump over a 20-foot gap because you've got like 18 strength or whatever, like I'm just not going to allow that. And then I think the rules problems happen. I experience this most in combat. So people will be fighting a monster. Say you're fighting a group of goblins and you're splatting goblins, but you've done heaps of damage to this one monster, and they're like, oh, this is bullshit. They should be dead. You must be cheating. You don't know whether that goblin is actually a goblin, not disguised as one, whether they've got some sort of like butte magic item up their sleeve, someone else, a third party is protecting that goblin, whether you specifically have some sort of magical curse where you can't affect this one. There's so many different things, and it sucks, I guess, when players just jump this should have this amount of hit points, and now that thing should be dead. Like, to me, and I said it once and I'll say it again, as video gamer mentality, there's that much more depth to the game, and as players, you just need to open yourself up to those sort of possibilities. Yes, there are DMs who are dicks and just want to TPK everyone and that kind of thing, but generally, everyone that I speak to here and everything else just wants an enjoyable, flowing game.
I think that's reasonable. Let's hear from Rivers. Is he there, Rivers?
Yep.
You there?
Sorry.
What's your take on rules lawyers and problem players? How do you? I didn't even ask. Do you DM?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been DMing since about 87, 88.
Yeah, buddy.
The golden days.
Yes.
Old school, like the old school. Cujo,
I started with first edition, and I still DM in 3.5.
Love it. I love 3.5.
I play 5 sometimes at conventions and would get together with other friends, but I still love 3.5. I have a lot of books for it, and I have a rules lawyer at my table. I have a table of 10,
no.
and I with 10 people playing, I gave them all jobs to do other than just playing.
Oh, you DM for 10 people? That's crazy.
Sorry to cut you off real fast. We have staff. He says if a PC tries to say NPC stats, then change the stats and throw crazy things in the mix.
Sure. Yep. I mean, yeah, that's, I would say, honestly, yeah. I mean, you don't know what an NPC should or shouldn't have. No player should know. You know what I'm saying? Unless you give them that character sheet and let them control it, they shouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I said last show, my NPCs consist of a name, hit points, and initiative, and that's it. Yeah. They pretty much have everything they need and nothing you're going to want. So, you know, unless I need them to have something you want. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise, yeah, that's how I feel about NPCs. Same thing for monsters.
Yeah, the rules lawyer at our table, I gave him a job, and his job is to look up rules whenever I have a question about them.
That's exactly what I do.
And it's fun because he's very good at it, and it saves me time looking it up. I don't have to waste my time looking up rules. I can have him do it, and I'll either jump to the next player, or if it's something that has to be decided before we move on, we'll go ahead and fix it and get the ruling. And my whole thought on DMing and D&D in itself is that rules are a guideline, and you have to just look at the rules and interpret them the way you see fit.
It's like the
as
pirates
DM.
code. It's the pirates code.
Yes.
They're more like guidelines, not
They're
hard,
guidelines.
fast rules. Yeah, I've heard tons of people say it, and I'll be honest. I've been watching a lot of videos this week about players and handling poor, rough players, and there's a lot of different approaches. Some people are just, firm hand and you're out of here. Some people are like what we do is like, you know what, you want a rules lawyer, that's fine. I'll use you for that. I need to arbitrate a rule or I need to find something quick. That person's good at it. Assign it to them. That's usually, like I said before, that's what I've done. I've always, if I can, I find somebody to do that. And I find a person who's good at looking it up, and reading comprehension is extremely important, right? So like, if they can read fast but understand what they're reading, then they're all in, right? But if I got someone who's just reading fast, I can't have them looking up rules because they're not going to understand what they just read. You know what I'm saying? And then it takes a whole bunch of time out of everybody's day to interpret those rules.
Yes,
and that's usually what it is. 9 times out of 10, it's an interpretation of the way something is written, and it happens in every. You can't think. I mean, for those of you who just play Dungeons and Dragons, that's great, but you can't even assume that's the only place that happens. I can't tell you how many times I've played a game of 40K or a game of something or a board game where we all sitting there with the same rules in the hand, and 4 players are reading those rules differently. It totally just happens, which is why the Dungeon Master is there. The Dungeon Master is there to arbitrate that final decision and make that final and say, okay, I may be wrong, I may be right. We don't know. We're gonna say this is what it is. At the end of the game, if we go back and we really feel like it was detrimental to the game, for example, and I thought about this week, was like, if you make a ruling as a DM, right, on a rule that you guys are not sure about, and a player loses his character because of it, that's something you definitely want to go and amend, right? You want to go back and say, okay, let me make sure after the game that these rules were right. And if you made a mistake, you got to bring it back, right? You got to give them that character back because you did make a mistake. Be humble about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't, there's no point in being arrogant or snotty or nasty about it. Just, hey, I made a mistake. We all do it. Let's fix it. You know what I'm saying? Let's understand that we can fix this mistake, right? So generally with those types of things, I find that if you have someone at the table who's actually looking up the rules, and you very rarely have a situation that's like, holy crap, that one ruling screwed up the entire session and everybody's dead because of it. Like, I've almost never come across that.
That's when you have a guy comes in and just raise everybody back up.
I mean, I've had situations where players TPK'd the whole group because they read rules for their spells or whatever. The DM was like, linear, like, that's exactly what you said you were doing, this is exactly what happens, everybody's dead because of it. And it wasn't the DM that did it, he just made the ruling, and we were all like, what the hell, bro? You know what I'm saying? Don't come back. You know what I mean? But and that's just, as a player, I was like, yo, like, what did you just do, bro? But like I said, I mean, that's usually how I tend to deal with the rules lawyering. And it's not easy because not every group has that player. So you gotta, have that little bit of balance. Sometimes the DM has to do a little bit extra work too. That's just my take. If you don't have that player, then you got to be that player. You got to be able to be quick, Johnny on the spot, look at those rules, know where they're at, and go, okay.
Well, Crit, I thought you had another DM that's in your group.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't tend to be a rules lawyer.
Nope.
Good.
No, it's like if I'll be honest with him, like, hey, I don't know how this works. Explain it to me and stuff, because I comprehend things differently than other people, a lot slower and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, like, we'll try to meet up and we'll talk. Like, okay, hey, I don't understand how this works. Can you explain it to me? And stuff like that. So he'll do it. But no, honestly, he doesn't try or roll or nothing.
It's like we said last week. That's the guy you should be having do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
especially at the game. Like, if one of your players is like, well, my dwarven ability is this, and you're thinking, I don't think that's the right way, talk to your guy. Say, hey, can you check for me really quick, please? And that's the guy that's going to be like, yup, boom, there it is. while you're continuing on the game.
Yeah. Like one of my other players, he's new. He's new too. He's been playing for about a year or so, and he'll ask the other DM, "Hey, how does this work?" And that other DM will go, "Okay, yeah, that's how this works."
That's perfect. Then that's good. I mean, it doesn't take away from your session, and it doesn't take away from your. And I hate to say this word because I know players that are watching right now are gonna cringe and be mad at me. Don't hate, but you're
save a die, subscribe, guys.
Damn it! See, now I lost my train of thought.
Hate's gonna hate you.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh my god.
Let's see. Pat says, "Hi, Joe. Grandpa with cats here."
Oh, that's grandma with cats.
Oh, grandma.
That's my mom. That's one of my.
Hey,
Hi,
Mom.
Mom. We hear so much about you.
That's one of my players.
Nice.
Mom, we hear so much about you.
And she's the miniature that I put in all my videos with the grandma with the cats.
Oh, that's that grandma.
Oh,
Nice.
that is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll segue into my little bit. My two groups are all new players. They're just happy to play. They don't go home and study the rules. I think we talked about this last week. So I'm very fortunate. I don't have anybody, I am the rules. I am the dungeon master. Whatever I say goes. They trust me. They're having fun. They know that I'm not trying to kill them. And even though I smile sometimes, the other times I'm worried. So they see that. So, I don't have any
dice behind that screen.
Unfortunately, I don't have any, longtime players that know what they're talking about, or just longtime players that just play characters that study all the rules and all the monsters, and I don't have that either. So,
lucky you.
I don't really have too much to say on this topic, really.
In my other group,
you go ahead, Gregor.
No, you go.
Okay.
Before beauty.
I think one of the key things to point out to players who pull this stuff is the whole player knowledge versus character knowledge. It's one of the most basic or important concepts of the game, but it's the one that's always causes the most confusion. I've been playing or running a session, and I'd be at some dude's house playing, and his girlfriend will be watching us play, and she'll be like, "Oh, why don't you try that?" And they're like, "Oh, we're going to do that." And I'm like, "No, you're not. You didn't think of that." And it's, I'm not a total, ass about it and trying to ruin their fun and that kind of thing. But the party will split up, and then they're having a conversation. Well, I'll do this and you do that. No. You're way over there.
You mean, so what you're talking about is metagaming?
Yeah. So
it's like basic
and that's so metagaming, and then reading the rules, and again I know the monster manual back to front, and every monster has this, or that monster can't cast that spell or whatever.
Those are suggestions.
It can here.
I treat those the monster manual. I treat those as suggestions, hit points, or a suggestion.
Yeah, if I want
every rule is suggestion to me.
I'm gonna have a vampire dinosaur.
Exactly.
I can have a vampire dinosaur.
Hey, Mom.
A zombie dinosaur.
Mom, I play by the book. All my stats are exactly what they are. I don't adjust hit points ever. Okay.
You liar.
Yeah. You're grounded.
Rivers does.
Oh yeah.
Mom, wait. Hey, could we get a copyright strike for Dwarven Forge being there?
No, I'm officially sponsored.
You should be.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm messaging Stefan now. I'm getting you cut off.
Oh no.
Yeah, they need to send some of that stuff my way.
Yeah, really. That's some good stuff there.
Mama says, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Before we go into the next subject, Rivers, I said, I wanted to let you know I got that package in. I did record some video. I've been just working like a dog every day, so I am going to try to get that out. I want to, I appreciate you sending me that little gift there.
Cool. Yeah, it's not a problem.
I got my gift from Critical.
Hey,
But
also thank
listen,
Bill.
I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but you didn't sign it, bro.
Oh,
Well, okay, Bill didn't sign it first.
Yeah, but you should have.
wait a second. That
You're
could be
gonna
the
be
book that went around the world. We could have all signed it.
You're gonna be a celebrity soon.
That would actually be cool, I reckon.
You know what?
Can we pick a better book?
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean something from AD&D?
Oh no! I knew he was gonna do that if I left it open.
The module that went around the world.
Yeah.
That's funny. We could actually do that.
Yeah, because we got people,
Good.
Tabletop Engineers Canada.
Like if we
States.
do a YouTube channel with the Tabletop Engineers, we could give it away for our first 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That would be sweet. I would
in
do it.
Discord. Because we're all over the place.
Yeah.
Critical.
Sign it, chuck a postcard in from wherever you live. Like,
So, what age did Cujo go down the wrong path?
What age?
When he was born.
he got dropped at the hospital.
Well, I
Hey,
mean,
his mom's watching. Bro.
I don't think I was dropped, but I know that when I was about, I don't know, 8 or 9, I jumped into a pool and I hit my head on the bottom of the pool.
Oh,
So
we all have done that. Man.
I got some stitches on top of my head.
Oh, I didn't do that.
And then I went, then I got hit by on my motorcycle and went rolling down the street at, who knows how many miles per hour.
I have done that, my friend. I have eaten dirt, gotten those nice road rashes. Critical.
So,
Have you had any situations with bad players?
Yeah, actually, one of my first campaigns. Yeah, because I had this one guy. He was dark, honestly, and
Whoa.
like, oh, I'm gonna take these skulls and I'm gonna put powder in. I'm gonna make them a bomb. I'm like, dude, simmer down, man.
Wait a second.
Like he was.
Simmer down.
cheer
What
up.
did he do?
Cheer up, pal.
What did he try
He's
to
like
do?
making bombs out of these skulls. Like he went into details on how he would cut out the skulls and stuff. I'm like, dude, it's a game.
Well, okay,
yeah.
I know where he got that from.
Not Jeffrey Dahmer, I hope.
Oh, God.
No, but it's like
I'll show you in a second. These guys right here. These guys use loaded skulls as bombs. There's a 40K.
Who's that?
It's a 40K.
Oh,
thing.
40K.
Yeah, this is a Death Guard Space Marine. They're like evil, corrupt Space Marines. They do that. They take human skulls, fill them with explosives, put wax on them, and then send them flying. That's what they do. That's a gimmick. That's what they do.
yeah,
Nice.
it's like
If he's like an evil player,
Well, do you have gunpowder in your campaign?
no.
What was he putting in them?
Gunpowder.
I can't remember.
Probably,
Leaving it on the character's
But I
doorstep.
think- He was.
I've got it in my
With methane
backpack. Don't
gas.
you remember?
something
but-
fire.
It just. I was like, dude, let's tone it down because some of the other players at the time too, because we all played on Discord and Rogue 20, and we was like, didn't really like that idea. So we.
Hey,
told him,
I would have let him do it. And if you had a problem with it, when he goes to throw him, it does like 1d4 damage. Make it do like like he'd be like, "Oh, that's so weak. Come on." I'm like, "Hey, skull man. I mean, that's what you're gonna get.
well, I wouldn't.
Tone
Mama
it
said
down."
She would duck.
You know what? I wouldn't punish him. That's pretty creative, honestly.
It was creative.
I'm not being silly. That's actually really creative, and I wouldn't
Well-
punish him for it. But I would limit the ability to make those. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? Like,
100%.
where did you get the explosive from? It'd have to be a big thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you can curtail things like that when you start adding in.
You've got to have using AD&D talk, like proficiencies. Like not anyone can just like get black powder and build a bomb. Like there's a good chance of it going up in your face when you're trying to.
Yeah, and there's a
Put
whole
it
bunch
together.
of things like that very point. Is it gunpowder? Do you even have gunpowder? Where did he get it? What's going on with that? But yeah, he could theoretically, if you've given him gunpowder, he finds somehow.
I mean, if
somehow.
if he's got a high enough intelligence,
Alchemist fire.
I was gonna say, yeah, exactly. If he's got a high enough intelligence, he could do that. I mean, chemistry is a thing, right? You can do that. Alchemy is a thing. You don't need gunpowder to make explosives. But my point being,
oil.
For that, I wouldn't punish him. I would just kind of like make sure I limit that availability. Like obviously charge him for the ingredients, things like that. Make him go find the ingredients. Make it more not as accessible as like going to the store and buying a potion. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's a pretty creative approach to something.
Well,
I mean,
isn't this the new character? Isn't this the new character that Artificer? That's why they've been holding off on bringing him out, because he can create potions. He can create this. He can, he's one of those guys that can create, and that's why they held back so much bringing him into 5th edition.
Well,
because
artificers were, I think that's what they were. They were like alchemists, like they could. They can make stuff. I mean,
I personally think black powder weapons are a mistake. They're too, unless you're experienced, like there's got to be so well regulated, because things can just get out of hand. Like it was cool, like at Helm's Deep when the Uruk-hai did like basically the suicide bomb thing to blow a hole in the side of the wall, but Saruman was like the wizard powerful enough to organize and collect that sort of thing. If the average Joe walking down the street could just go into like the mage shop and buy like a bag of
I don't know. I mean,
black powder.
Have you guys ever seen a movie called Iron Kingdom? Or is it Iron Kingdom or The Kingdom, right, babe? Which one is the one with Orlando Bloom?
The Kingdom?
Kingdom of Heaven. Sorry. Kingdom of Heaven. Have you guys
ever
seen that?
Sounds
okay, so in the end, like Al-Qadim, he had catapults, and he was catapulting huge balls of fire, and like these things, as soon as they hit the wall, they would explode. Now, so I don't know if it was gunpowder or oil, because I think it was oil, because the way it spread over the wall, it seemed like oil.
Yeah, because
I mean, it's a possibility. What I'm saying is, those kinds of creative ideas they shouldn't be punished, but they should be, like you said, extremely regulated, right? Because if a player's got like fireballs in his pocket, then.
Well, I look at it like this, Grim. I thought about that too, and when I started bringing ships in and pirates, and am I going to have cannons on the ship? Am I going to have? Yeah, well, that's of course going to be on the ship, but. Am I going to have the pirates, because there's a lot of miniatures with guns? Do I want to try to remove the guns, turn them into something else? And I really thought about it a lot, and I'm not sure
what's up to my buddy Eric. He's down at the bottom of the chat there, Region. Yeah, 40K, bro. You know it. Rock and roll.
What do we look at with an attack? You're shooting a magic, either whether it be.
I mean, just
a spell, or you're shooting a arrow. It's going to do 1d6, 1d8, whatever damage it's doing. You can say, okay, well, this is another. It's like you're just changing the weapon type and saying it's going to be a gunshot. And then if you have something wrong with like the distance or the range, and you might, depends on what kind of gun it is. If you got a muzzle loader, what's going to take either if you're playing 5e, maybe a bonus action to reload, or even a full action. So it's like, well, that's not going to be very good. You're going to use it, and you're going to have to reload that at some other time. So it's that's and then if it does the same amount of damage that an arrow would do, or
I thought that in 3.5 there was an actual book. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Warrior's Guide. But there was rules for flintlocks and things like that, like dwarven weapons and cannons and stuff like
that.
Didn't
they do they did an arms and equipment book for 3 or 3.5, I think.
Exactly it. Arms and equipment. And I used some of that stuff but I used it so sparingly, because I didn't want it to be like, well, everybody's carrying a flintlock, because that's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And then, wizards are no longer wizards. They're just pistoliers. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay. But I used it sparingly enough for the players to be like, wow, that is some amazing stuff. But I don't want to mess with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got the impression that it's like, that's cool, but that's their thing. I'm going to still shoot my bow, and the other guy, I'm going to still shoot my crossbow or use my daggers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
if it's dwarven, you want to use a dwarven blunderbuss.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you got to spray.
I'm not saying.
Like in World of Warcraft?
I know some people don't like using steampunk in their D&D games, and I'm a big fan of War Machine. I don't.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I have
Thanks
a
for
bunch of the
joining us.
models and stuff, and I've used Warjacks, the steam-powered, and I just use them as constructs. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they weren't overpowered, they weren't overbearing. They were challenging for the ones that I threw at the party, but it wasn't to the point where people were like, dude, this was ridiculously broken. There was no way we could beat that monster. You know what I mean? No, it's just a part of the game. You limit what its capabilities are. You know what I'm saying? And it gives that game a little bit more volume, right? Like using flying ships, like, in a game, like, the Spelljammer ships, you could use those in a regular D&D game and not become like, well, everybody's got to park their car or ship and they've all got alarm systems. No, you put it in there and you put it in sparingly, and it just adds to the amazement of the game, and not, you're not selling them like, hey, everybody takes a ship, hey, you get a ship, and you get a ship, and you get a cannon, and you get a cannon. No,
okay, Oprah.
You
and I think like Grim, you're the boss. You're the DM. Just like you can't. I know that you're playing old D&D with like 5 races, but you can limit, even in 5th edition, you can say, hey, core rule book, that's it.
Yeah.
And if a player character is like, I want to have a gun, I'll be like, well, why though? What's your goal? Is it just flavor? Is just because when I draw my bow out, I really don't want a bow. I'd like to have someone have a gun. I mean, I can maybe talk about it, but really, it's my, I'm the DM, so it's final.
Yeah.
I'm the final say. If you don't feel like it's in your world, then you don't want to do it.
Sap says in D&D setting, I agree with the limit to guns, but I ran a sci-fi fantasy futuristic world with technology and laser rifles. In the DM guide, there's actually a little section where it talks about the guns and stuff.
Yeah.
And it also talks about like laser rifles and stuff too.
If you
So
take the modern D20 system and the sci-fi, like the future D20 system, when it for 3.5, they worked really well. They were really compatible with 3.5 D&D. So you, as a GM, like I said, you can pretty much pick and choose what you're going to use and what you're not going to use, and make it. You can either make it available to them or not. That's
Session Zero, just like we talked about before.
Session Zero. Yep. That's what's valuable about Session Zero.
What do you think, Rivers?
Yeah, I think it's up to the DM, and whatever he wants to do is his rules. It's his house basically, and I don't use guns. I haven't yet. Now, if you want to get creative with oil and make like oil hand grenades, that's another thing.
Oh yeah,
but
I mean that definitely.
Yeah, you get splash damage and everything else, and you're using pottery, like a pottery bowl or whatever, and you're lighting it and throwing it. You got to make a to hit roll, and if you're off, where's it going? It's going to spray somewhere.
That's just just like Critical Role. You watch Critical Role, Rivers?
No, I do not.
Oh, the Gunslinger? Matt Mercer's Gunslinger?
Well, no, they did that, the Fluffer Nutter, where they, that's their little nickname for it. They throw a little bag of gunpowder. One throws it, and the other one's got to shoot a firebolt at it at the right time. And if is a whole bunch of ifs, and it might do a whole bunch of damage, and usually it don't, or usually the throw's got to be at the right distance, and he's got to try to hit that at the and that's the accuracy of that could fail, and usually it's like a huge debate whether they're going to do it, and it's always no, let's not do that because it's a waste of actions and a waste of time, and we lost our turn. But it's fun because they act it out and they try to we're gonna do Fluffer Nutter, But yeah, the oil is a great idea. Throwing the oil and then possibly some fire on it after that. It's awesome idea.
The question is, who does it hit, and who do they set on fire?
You know what's cool? You know what you guys can do if you're concerned about limiting it?
Eat popcorn?
No, I'm not eating popcorn. You can use something like this. This is a deviation dice.
Scatter dice.
Oh yeah,
scatter dice. You just have them roll
dice.
that scatter dice. Or if you don't have one of these, this is a really unique dice. Just use a D10. When it rolls, wherever it points, that's where it ended up. And that number that it's on can be the amount of spaces it went off of where their intended target was. And once you if you did that, players will start to think twice about whether or not it was risk versus reward. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Seth says, I was running a 3.5 using D&D with Star Wars D20. Set the basic for the world, then later design my own classes, races, and prestige classes. BlustreekCustoms says DM is master. That's why he's called the Dungeon Master.
No, you know
what
what,
he says goes.
Blue, you're right to a degree, and I'm
Blue's always right.
listen.
I'm Blue.
This may be unpopular amongst DMs. I'm just gonna say it though. You are right to a degree. The Dungeon Master is the final arbiter of the rules, but if you cannot be a neutral party in the debate, then you shouldn't be a Dungeon Master, right? Because if you don't have players, you got no game. Period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you're gonna be, if your only answer is always ever, I make the rules because I'm the Dungeon Master, you're gonna be Dungeon Mastering by yourself.
I was gonna say you shouldn't even be a Dungeon Master.
I mean, maybe not, but whatever. I mean, just saying you're gonna be.
But that's
eventually people are gonna get wise and be like, all right, well, bet money. I don't want to be in this game.
That's why I brought up. If someone insists that, man, I really want to have a gun or whatever it is, that's not, you don't really feel like it's in your campaign setting.
I mean, something like that is different.
I would just say, hey, what is it that you want to play? What is it that you feel like that? I want to make them happy. I want them to play the game.
Sure.
And it's like if it's just flavor,
but you
and I can say, hey, it's going to be the same damage. It's going to have the same kind of,
that's the other thing.
Action economy.
Is knowing
I'm
the
fine
balance,
with it.
That's the thing, though, right? Knowing the balance of when to give a player something, or rather allow something that is one player beneficial as opposed to the group, right? Because when you start compromising in that sense, right? Like you want a pistol, all right, your pistol shoots magic missiles. Okay, cool. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now, the cleric's going to be like, well, I want a cross that has holy light coming out of it whenever I touch it. And then they explain it or whatever. Now, you got to either give him that or help deal with the argument of, well, you let the freaking wizard have a pistol that shoots magic missiles all day. What the hell?
Well,
the fighter's gonna be like, well,
did you reflavor that pistol, or did you actually give him a new magic item?
I mean, either way, you got to be able to balance it. That's all I'm saying.
I just think is like, okay, with the whole gun debate, the existence of black powder is one thing, and then if they're creating a new character, so level 1 and they already have access to like black powder, like that's a ramification that impacts the whole world. Even if I stat it the same as like it's just like a hand crossbow sort of thing, if I stat it the same as that, the damage is no better, but they just want it to go bang instead of when it shoots. That, and again, that's just me. I like high fantasy, Tolkien-esque sort of stuff, and gunpowder's just not for me. Same with like Eberron technology sort of stuff. I just don't really do it. Like magic is the mysterious thing that makes stuff happen in my world, and not.
Okay, so I got a question. Okay, so I have a brand new player that joined me on the last session. He made a fighter and stuff. One of my other players bought him the PHP. He's looking through it, and he goes, well, I want to change my class, and my class is race. Is that okay? I said yes. Because he's new and he wants to experience. Would you guys allow that? Because
wait a minute.
First session?
Let me ask you.
First session, he made a level 4 fighter because that's what my current party is at right now. They're at level 4. So he made a fighter. We helped him make a fighter and stuff, just to see if he would like it.
Let me guess, he didn't like not having magic.
He had a blast. He was like, oh, I want to try this. I want to try this. I want to try this. Then, sorry about that.
Yeah.
But he has a class he wants to play. And I told him, go for it. Make him level 4 and stuff. Go for it.
Okay.
It's first time. He's first time playing.
My take. Is that there's nothing wrong with that. If you introduced him to the game with a level 4 fighter, that's a great introduction, right? Like this is D&D. When he got the PHB and realized, well, I could make a sorcerer, or I could make a cleric, or I could make a paladin, or I could make a monk.
Yeah.
Now he's actually choosing to commit to this game, 1, and your campaign, 2. So I would say yes, but I would also inform him
Can't keep doing this.
you can't keep doing.
Oh,
this.
he knows.
Okay, so then yeah,
No,
there's
yeah,
nothing
he
wrong
knows.
with
I
that.
already knew where you were going.
That's totally
Yeah.
fine. I mean, why
Yeah,
wouldn't
but-
you? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, would you be? I mean, seriously, if you joined the game for the first time and you were like, okay, and the DM handed you a fighter and said you're gonna play the fighter first just to try it out. Okay, cool. And then the next session you said, I really like this game. I want to get involved. What can I make? Well, you're stuck with the fighter. I'm like, well, deuces. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and most players would be, right? Because you know, if you're going to tell me there's an option of 20 different classes, but I can only have the one you gave me, no.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he brings to the table on my Wednesday session because,
He's going to bring a lot of questions.
huh?
He's going to bring a lot of questions.
You know what? That's what I got the DM for too, right?
Critical.
Yo,
Well, while my mom's still here in chat, I don't know how long she's going to be able to stay with us, but you have to explain to her your cleric that you want to play because, and why I say this is because she herself is a cleric. And I need you to explain your cleric, how really
minute.
cool it is.
Does she
And it's
heal?
the coolest cleric in the world.
oh yeah, very cool.
Is she still here? I don't know.
No, I'm
Oh yeah,
saying,
she heals.
Then there's no point in having him explain anything, man.
I don't heal. My cleric does not heal. He's a force cleric. He makes stuff.
He's a cleric that has no healing spells.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Rivers didn't know about it.
Yep. He's a
Okay.
cleric.
All right,
Strictly.
real quick, Rivers, I'm gonna start with you real quick. How do you handle a player, not a rules lawyer, just a player who's not fitting in well in your game at all and just being
Mama says,
disruptive?
"Wow."
A bad player. How do you deal with that?
I've only had to deal with it one time, and it
Damn.
was many years ago. I had a player that just wanted everything given to him, and wanted this, wanted that, and all the other players hated him and were getting sick of him. So one day on an adventure, I told him the skies opened up, and this giant thumb comes down and crushes your character. Give me your sheet. And I killed him.
What the
Oh, I've seen that, the giant thumb. That's on page
The thumb
192.
of God.
Yes.
The thumb of God came down and just crushed
It's in, I think isn't it Volo's guide?
Oh, I
think
don't know.
No, it's in Rivers RPG guide. That's
Yes.
what it is.
Is that a free download? 'Cause I'll get it.
I'm gonna
'Cause,
play that. I'm gonna play that on hate when in that campaign we got.
As long as it's not me, I don't care.
Okay, real quick.
That's my
though.
god right there.
All right, Rivers. So you brought down the thumb of God.
Yes, and I
What
Oh
took
my
his
god,
character.
LOL.
Which
So you
one?
just- okay, hang on a second.
Which
guys. You-
which god?
So no, hang on. So you
I think it was
you,
Odin.
you killed his character,
Killed his
Right.
character, took his
Completely.
sheet.
took his sheet. What happened with the player? How
The
did
player
you
was
handle
like
him?
so upset. He's like, I can't believe you did that. I said, well, you can either roll up a new player or you can leave. So he left.
Wow.
And it was good for the group.
Mhm.
So the group liked it. I mean,
So,
because he was such a pain.
The
What if-
group liked it because they rolled high dexterity and they missed the thumb.
So, what would you done? Okay, River, what would you done if you rolled up a new character?
I would
Son
have
of God again? Or
Yeah,
foot of God?
if he played it the same way, yeah, because he was
The
a
middle
total-
finger of God comes down.
Now let me play devil's advocate for a minute. Did you talk to the player outside of game about his behavior?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I talked to him beforehand. Said, look, you got to stop doing this, and the other players talked to him too.
Oh wow.
So
Okay. Fair enough. That's
yeah, he had plenty of warnings, and
Okay.
and it was just one of those things where you got tired of the guy, and it's like, you know what, you got to quit being this way or else. And he took the or else.
All right. Yeah, you know what? I got a story about that from
Now-
my bad player story. I got the same, but I'll go with Cujo, because you're quick. I know you haven't had a bad player, so.
Yeah, I mean, I am very fortunate. My players aren't that, and I don't have that similar situation at all. They are very. I would expect them to be greedy, like you said. I mean, like looking for that new magic item. I can't, trying to turn over every leaf and search everybody, and there's got to be something. And they're not doing that. They're really for the story. They're really just playing through the story, and I like it. And I've had a great time. So, I was worried that they were going to be like magic item hungry, or at least it hasn't happened yet.
Hey,
so I've
Cujo.
been pretty fortunate.
So if you killed your mom's character, would you get grounded? Oh, he coughed. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, I got the corona coming down.
Yeah.
So Seth says that it's his fault about that guy Rivers because he brought the guy to the table.
Yeah.
No, Seth, it's not your fault. Not at all. You were just looking out for your friend. You were just trying to get your friend involved in what you were doing. It's not your fault
Cujo's
at all.
mom says, "Fun, kill everything." LOL.
She's a murder hobo.
Wow.
I've been pretty lucky too, but I actually played in a campaign. I was with my housemate, and his brother played, and his brother was always just an annoying person as is, but he converted to Islam, which, whatever your opinion about that, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care, but
all religions are the same.
there's nothing as fanatic as the newly converted to anything. So we're playing D&D, so he wants to play some sort of like Islamic character in the game. And it's just totally annoying, doing the wrong things, basically trying to convert every NPC we come across to his religion, and was basically using this game as like a Bible study for the rest of us. And it was so annoying, to the point that one of the other players just said, either Kevin changes the way he plays his character, play something else, or I'm going to take him outside and have a talk to him, which basically meant a non-verbal talk. And it was so infuriating. It was just ridiculous. He just kept doing all the dumbest stuff. A portal opened up. We threw him through it, thinking, "Oh, yep, that'll be it," to another plane. And then he just comes walking back up the road. Like it, you try to work with players, but some people just can't be helped, and you're affecting everybody else if you allow them to stay, and you'll end up driving everybody away. So if I had a group of 4 or 5 players and one person was being a dick, I would rather lose them than lose everybody else and be stuck with the idiot. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
So-
kind of where we were.
How many? Before we jump to you guys, Rivers, how many players did you have in that party?
At that time, I think it was about 6.
Okay, so you could afford to lose one.
Right.
Sometimes you have 10. It's like,
that.
yeah, thumb of God. Man, those thumbs will be coming down. I'm like, yeah, I want to get it down to about 5.
Well, the new group is good.
Down.
I might not even give them the option. I'd be like, give me your sheet, get out.
Damn it, Cujo.
I have three brand new players and 3 DMs. So I have a
shoot!
group right now.
I was drinking.
Oh man.
So I've been thinking about it a lot, about how I've handled bad players in the past, and I've had my fair share. And I know that's crazy because Rivers has been playing since the beginning, and he has had like one. I've had like one in every damn game. You know, it's always someone who in real life, I say real life in the sense that like in their world, their regular outside of game world, are very I don't want to say spoiled because it's just a mean word, but like self-centered, self-absorbed, you know. It's all about them. They're the showstopper.
Yeah.
They're the spotlighter. You know, if the rogue finds, a dagger and some jewels, this guy wants to take it at any means. You know, it's that kind of guy. Or why didn't I get that? Or why did the monster attack me first? It's that guy. So my approach generally was at the table, like, hey, we need to take a break so I could talk to this guy. And I would ask everybody to either leave the room, go do whatever, or I would ask him to leave the room with me. And I would pull him aside and say, hey, Are we just having a bad day? I mean, what's going on? Did you flush your goldfish down the toilet or something? And there were times where it was like, you know what, I am having a bad day. It's just not working for me today. I was like, all right, well, why don't you just chill? Either chill and don't even get involved. We can ghost your character, or go on ahead, head home. I'll ghost your character. Nothing's gonna happen. He doesn't die. He doesn't, whatever. But I would rather do that than have you here pitching the fit at everybody and getting everybody involved in your problem. You know what I'm saying? And it's worked sometimes, but then there's times where, it's like you try
Thanks
to
for
talk
joining
to
us,
them.
Pat.
Say what?
Oh, Pat was saying, thanks for the information. You all have a good night.
All right, Pat, you too. Thanks for stopping by.
See you later.
And so, there were other times where I'd have that same conversation with someone, and this person just loses their shit. They lose their temper. They it's not my fault. It's, the bus was late. This is why I was an hour late. Or, I didn't get my full paycheck. This, you know what I mean? They just blurt out these reasons other than themselves for having problems. And I just realized, okay, this is not going to change, because I know the person generally. They're usually my friends, and I know that the person is not going to change their behavior, whether I threaten them, whether I give them what they want. It doesn't matter. They're not going to change their behavior. So when that happens, that's when I have to step out and say, all right, look, I don't think this is for you. Like, it's just not. It's not. This isn't going to cut it, and it's not for you. We might need you to step out.
See.
And that's I try to do it as politely as possible, but sometimes, when you're in the heat of the moment, you're angry too, which is
And some of
because
I'm sure some of the other players at the table are really good friends with them too.
Mm-hmm. And
because you're doing it, right? You're doing it in house like I do, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, sometimes these players, a lot of them, they'll be like, yeah, he's a dick, man. He's being a dick, but they won't say it.
Yeah.
They won't say anything. They'll keep themselves. Like, when you're standing there telling the guy, like, look, you did this, this, and this, right? And everybody's like, I don't know. Shit, I don't know what you're talking about. But then when he leaves, they're like, yeah, man, he's a dick. That guy, forget that guy. It's like, come on, man. Like, that's, so I usually leave it upon myself anyway to just pull that person aside and say, hey, look, man, this ain't for you.
Me and my players, we have one rule because we all work together. Once the session starts, we don't talk about work. Once we're at the table, no work.
Well, that's because you guys all work together. That's different. I mean,
well, and plus, like, and I don't know. Right now, our job is very stressful, too, because we're so short, understaffed, and our schedules is changing and stuff. So it's
I mean, yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I think when I come to the table, my general rule of thumb for conversation is no politics, with no religion. And no current, what do you call it?
I don't have that problem either.
Pop cultural discussion, I just leave that shit somewhere else, man. We're not here for that. You know what I'm saying? We're
just here to have fun.
Play the game and have fun and, like, get rid of all the stress. Forget about all the crap from the day and the week and whatever. I'm here to roll dice, bitches. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that makes up another good point. I don't like, because you brought up politics, I don't like to play with a lot of politics in my game.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, even like, I know there will be, like, you can have kings and queens in this area and that area, but I don't want it to get too heavy.
I like political intrigue, but I don't like a heavy politic game. That's not D&D to me. If you want to do that, then go play something else. Like, that's just me. I do like political intrigue, like who killed the king, who's going to benefit from poisoning the king, that kind of stuff. That's totally cool, but not to the point where my players are filling out W-2s and LL-44 to make sure they get the proper tax returns. And stuff.
Hey, now guys, let me roll this D20 to see if I get my tax refund. It's a 1.
Like, you want to play a political game? Go somewhere else, man. That's not for me. But I mean, that's just like I said. I know that as a DM and learning and growing and learning, because every game session you run with a group of people, you learn from it. You should at least, right? I know that on my end, I have been at fault, or not so much at fault, but I have handled things incorrectly. Like, I know that, like, my buddy, he blew up at everybody at the table, and I lost my temper with him, and I blew up on him. And it got, we were nose to nose, and it was just like, what you gonna do? You're either gonna step away, or you're gonna get knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what it's gonna. One of us is gonna sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Good night, Blue.
And that was not the right.
You said one of us is going to sleep, and Blue just said good night.
Good night, Blue.
Night, Mark.
Perfect timing.
I mean,
Go to sleep.
Seth says, I had two players, or let's see here. Had two players who wanted to get in a physical fight at the table.
Mm-hmm. That's happened.
mm.
You know who does it all the time? Who starts the shit? The rogue.
Oh,
Everybody.
I've never had that problem so far. Knock on wood.
My only fight was a little. They had an argument with each other, but it got a little hot. But these guys are best buddies and are with each other every day, all the time.
Yeah.
But it was they're playing as far as characters they're playing. A wizard turtle, and a tabaxi bard. So it has nothing to do with their races they chose or classes. It has everything to do with they hang out with each other all day, every day, and they just got on each other's nerves and got kind of hot. But they weren't gonna fight. But
yeah, dude, my best friend.
Seth, I'm usually the
My
rogue.
best friend, hand to God. We argue all the fucking time. Me and my best friend, and everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are like a old married couple," and it's ha ha ha. But and because we are close, you know what I'm saying? We're with each other. We were with each other like all the time. When I hung out of the house, I was with him. You know what I'm saying? So we get in arguments all the time. You know what I mean? It's just how it was. But like when we played Dungeons and Dragons, it was kind of like, all right, we got to curve that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want everybody else to start thinking it's cool to just argue with me because they know me like that. You know what I mean? Like, no, not gonna happen. But that's just.
I know I keep dropping out. I'm tethered using a mobile phone in a motel room. So
You're good, brother.
I'm getting super fucking angry every time it drops out. I'm just like, ah!
Do they not have like an Ethernet port in their hotel room?
Nah. There's no store in there.
oh,
I played it for her. She was devastated.
Oh, I'm sure, man. That would be horrible. I wouldn't want to hear that back. If that were me, even if that were me, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
I'm just used to tuning it out, so I didn't even think of it. But it was great.
When did that happen? Last week?
Yeah.
I honestly thought Zero fell asleep.
Shut up.
Because no, really, because you was like this. You was like.
He's closing his eyes. He stood still for a second. I'm like, he cannot be sleeping. He just talked 2 seconds ago.
I know,
Not like this.
He is getting really old, man.
Yeah, so I think that when players go left instead of right,
they're like, all their players are looking at each other like, what do we do? Do we just leave, or do we wake him up? I don't know.
Quick, start adding stuff to your character sheet.
Go sneak behind the DM screen. See where we're going next before you wake him up.
Take a picture of the map.
Yeah.
You guys are bastards, man.
Oh man. I can't wait to play in his game.
Oh.
All right, so I just rolled up a new topic. If you guys want to touch in on something else, unless we want to go back to the last topic, if there's something we didn't cover.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right, Slayer guys. Okay, who's this? I'm usually the rogue. Oh, Saf. Saf, you know what you did, Saf.
I just said that like
what you
3
did.
minutes ago, Zero.
I was looking at.
He was asleep.
So, what do you guys? I mean, you guys, Crit and Cujo, you guys are new players, but I guess this is more towards the old school players. What do you guys think? Hardcover books or digital books?
I'm sorry.
At the table.
Hardcover for me. Yeah, digital has its perks. Like, it's a lot easier to access and stuff. You know, you can just click on it. Oh, I'm going to see what the rogue does. Oh, here's what the rogue does. Where, like, I got my books tabbed, so I can just go to the section. But I like having the physical copies because what if your tablet dies and your power goes out?
Game's over, man.
Oh no! Light some candles.
Gotta wing it.
Let's play.
I like having the physical books.
Yeah, the power goes out. What does the rogue do? Absolutely nothing. I forgot what he does. He does a D4 damage, and he needs a 20 to hit anything.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't have the rules. You got the rules? No, nobody's got the rules. Rogue does nothing.
I
now.
have the rules right here. Physical.
I'm gonna make him want to roll a new character before it's over, before the power comes back on.
But if I don't have my books, they still have their character sheet. And that.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
roll
true,
of
that's
attack.
true.
Tell me what you hit. tell me what armor class you hit, and I'll tell you whether you hit it or not.
What if the character sheet's on like D&D Beyond or something like that, and it dies?
Oh, they gotta have paper backup.
Yeah, you gotta have a backup.
Yeah, there's never a time where you're not having a physical character sheet. I don't care about the books, but you need a physical character sheet. That's
my new characters that are they use D&D Beyond, of course, and they're starting to get good at it, which is good. I usually let them come over and let them print off their sheet if they haven't already done it, but they're already coming pre-printed and they're getting little booklets now. I'm like, good. I mean, you need to buy your own stuff. Bring it over. Don't let me buy it for you again. Because I'm trying to encourage them to buy their own dice because I always say, I have a lot of dice, so I let them have some, and I'm really waiting for the day for them to just come over with their own bags of dice. But
what you do, man, is you start telling them, you know what? You're messing up the luck on my dice rolls, man.
Yeah, you better be segregating.
Oh, no. They don't use the DM's dice. I think you had that wrong. I have a lot of dice.
I know what you're saying, though. I mean, but I think
they're not messing up my rolls at all.
No, I think at one point, though. I mean, you just say that. I'm not saying you. That's what's happening. I'm saying you just because at one point I think I had to say the same thing. I had to be like, look, guys, you guys got to start getting your own dice. Like dice and players' handbooks are kind of the must, right? Like if you're committed to the game, then at least do that. That's It's not much.
And how many players blame dice? If you borrow somebody else, these dice are crap. You bring your own dice, you roll your own dice, you live and die by them.
I actually had players
throw them off the wall.
I've actually had players roll my dice and get a result that they were completely unhappy with, and I'm like, let me try this one. I'm like, what? We get do-overs? Like,
no. I'll be like, I tell them, no, you can roll that dice, but your result stays the same.
Yeah,
I'll be like, get your stinking hands off my dice. I don't want you like corrupting them and stuff. I'll have to put them in the freezer and smash them with a hammer.
When I DM,
do you want me to bring down the thumb of God?
Here, right here.
You haven't seen death yet, buddy. You haven't seen evil. Let me paint some like a smiley face on my thumb, and it's coming down.
Did you just roll a 1?
Give me that sheet.
So
hey, bring a shredder to the table.
I've never heard of anything like that. That's hilarious. I mean, that's going to be a joke for a while, Rivers. I'm glad you did that.
So real quick, before we continue, I just wanted to say that was it January, right? January was the first time we did the
who won?
Dungeoneers Challenge. So this is my dice tower for the dice tower challenge.
By the way, he lost.
I guess I did. I mean, out of 2 people who made them.
I never committed to that. I never got into that.
So I just wanted to point out that this month's challenge has been suggested, and it is the dollar store toy repurposing challenge. I mean, I guess I don't know if everybody agreed on that or not. I'm just pointing out that Thaco Factor has picked up his dollar store toy already to convert.
Yeah, the Rock.
He picked up the Rock.
So he is already on it.
So he's on it. So I mean, I don't know if we're doing that. I don't know who's doing that. But I just wanted to, let the people know, whoever's still watching.
Well, he's disqualified because it's not even next month yet. He's already got a head start. You are, Thaco, if you're watching, it's done, buddy. You're out.
maybe he bought 2 and he's already converted the second one.
Yeah. There it is, guys, right there.
Oh no!
Yeah,
the Rock.
Keep it in the package, Thaco. Keep your He-Man in the package.
No, it's the Rock.
Or the Rock.
But yeah,
I want a photo of it with tomorrow's paper, March 1st.
Yeah.
Unopened.
No starting early. There's no 1-day advantage.
Oh. Hate says 0-1.
I won?
Yep, 0-1.
Oh,
so it was just you and Thaco?
I think so. And then, unless you include Quinn's pre-made towers because he had 2 that were already made.
Yeah, which ones though?
He had the fantasy tower. It was like a round. They were pretty nice.
I would put, to be honest with you, looking at both towers. I mean, I think Thaco's was great and everything, but he made a really good functional tower that he's gonna love and use all the time. You made a terrain piece that can also be used, multi-purpose. And it looks like something else. It doesn't look like a dice tower, you know.
Okay.
I would give the nod to you. Just my take. If I have a vote,
All right, Joe.
you know. So nothing against you, Thaco. Yours is probably a way better dice tower.
Hey, watch it.
Because you're not going to be knocking your men over into the dice tower, and they're going to be tumbling, and they're all dead now. So just because I tried to roll, so it does work. I have seen it work. It is not easy.
This is what my dice tower does. It just holds my little guy up on top.
Exactly.
So okay,
It looks cool. It does actually roll dice, but it's pretty cool. It's unique.
some fails, everyone
I
dies.
appreciate that.
So we should announce the winner for March's challenge on here then too.
Yep. Yeah,
But
we
who's
might
going to
as well.
judge?
Absolutely. We could even ask the public to judge. I mean, if we wanted to.
We can
could
do
show
some
the
sort of
people in the
poll
chat.
on something.
Yeah.
So that means hate you judge, bud.
No, Hate's got to participate. Stop.
No,
Yeah.
he's in the audience right now. He's the audience.
Well, that's his problem. He's part of the Dungeoneers.
So, all right, so let's get back on the topic. Digital or physical copies?
So you say physical.
Yep.
I'm gonna say physical. Now, I'll be honest. I've never at my table. I was running 3.5. We never used digital. Like we just didn't have it available. And then when it did become available, it was just kind of like, we're the technology was new, so we were like, it was better off just flipping through the book because we all knew the books by then. So for me, physical is the way to go. Even if I let people use digital now, I still prefer to have a physical copy at the table. Like it's there. If you know the book, if everybody's got a player's handbook, unless the guy leaves it at my house every week, he's probably taking that book home and poring over it to find every little thing that could benefit him, right? Like who wouldn't do that?
Like
So
I
I'm sure
keep
the
multiple copies of the PHB, so if there are a couple of people turn up that don't have one, they can have one. And I think physical character sheets, if there's like combat and stuff going on, there's less interference to the game if they've got to quickly adjust their hit points instead of like pick up their device, unlock it, go to the thing, enter it, and all that sort of stuff. Like if they're using it for their character sheet in D&D Beyond, and when I ran 5th Ed, there was people using it, but the physical sheet is better. And then when there's like downtime, they're having a long rest or someone's talking, they can make those adjustments then. Like I'm big on like not interfering with the flow of the game, especially when it's like a high tension moment or
Right. I just feel like it's better that, like you said, it's easier to spot check everything too. It's right there. So I mean, I don't care what the digital copy says.
Wow.
If your paper copy is in front of you and it says you've got a 10 strength, then you have a 10 strength. You know what I'm saying? Like, your digital copy could be 19s all across the board, but the physical copy, and plus for me, physical copies stay with me. They don't go anywhere. They stay with me. So like they don't get to take the copies of the character sheets home. They don't get to take them into the bathroom with them. It stays with me.
So Canadian Retro finishes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but look at that from that dollar store.
Yeah, that's. Well,
That is
is
awesome.
that the dollar store one or is that?
Sorry, bud. That was next month's challenge.
Yeah.
strip that paint off and start again.
But no, honestly,
But that would be a great addition to this challenge. But too bad it was.
Well, not just that
Not
too. It's
next month.
functional. Like he can actually use it
Yeah.
in D&D. So
That's great.
That's a plus.
Out of dread.
Yep, that is like, look at that detail for a dollar. Who's this guy? Who's Brian?
Brian, what does it say? I don't know.
Where are we looking?
What are we looking at?
On
I
Discord.
don't
Right
know.
here.
Oh, that's Brian. That's my buddy Zenamaru.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Oh.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, B?
Sorry, I just dropped in. I saw that you guys were talking about D&D stuff before, and I want to be part of the conversation, but I guess you guys already did all that.
That's all we talk about, bro.
Yeah.
That's
I was just. I'm like, a piece of candy.
I think Rivers, with you being 3.5 primarily, you're probably not digital either.
Well, actually, we use both at the table. We have some people that do all digital because there is a nice.
Hey, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, SRD20 is a digital format that also has 5e now too. So and I carry my DMG, my players, my Magic Item Compendium.
Monster Manual?
No, I don't use the Monster Manual much. I use the digital for that, or I print it out at home and then take it with me. And so I do have hard copies with me, and it's a lot easier for me to have both. And I have the backups just in case my phone dies, like it did last time I gamed. My phone died at about 9-10 o'clock. I was like, crap. So I had my books are still there, so I have everything I need, and I'm good at playing off the cuff anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I allow both, but you definitely have to have a physical character sheet because you gotta have that.
It's funny you say that, because what I would do is I'd have my laptop behind the Dungeon Master screen with the digital copy of the Monster Manual open to a monster that I'm using, but I'd also have the physical copy of the Monster Manual open with a different monster that I'm still, you know what I mean? Like if I'm using multiple monsters, I'll have them both open so that I can go back and forth.
Those cards, that's where those cards would come in handy at.
Yeah.
So real quick, guys, I'm going to introduce my buddy here. His name is Brian Martinez. He has several channels, Xanamaru Art. He also works with Honey Badger Radio, and he does, I want to say, their podcasts or they're live streams most of the time.
Live streams, podcasts, and pre-made videos,
And
that's where I've seen you before, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, this guy looks familiar.
So also, just a quick bit of history. I've known Brian since we were in diapers.
Oh, the Stone Age?
And, so this is the guy that actually was my first Dungeon Master.
Oh,
cool.
Nice.
All right.
So this is the guy I learned from how to Dungeon
So
Master.
how was Zero as a player? Did he flip the table?
No. Actually, it was actually a mutual friend from high school that showed us how to play D&D. And we were both players at first. And then later on, we just really wanted to play more. So I think a friend of mine helped me find the books at a library. They were selling like the first edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and we got into it from there. So
nice.
And somebody had a BDM. I was the most agreeable person, so I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And then I ended up doing it all the time.
And back then I couldn't read.
I think I was DMing for. I've been DMing for like 20-something years, 30 years almost.
Yep.
Yeah, since I was 15. Yeah.
So real quick, Brian, just to catch you up, and I'll give you we'll give you the floor just so we can hear your take on it. Originally, we started the conversation with how do you deal with rules lawyers at your table, and also how do you deal with difficult players? I don't want to say bad anymore because they're not bad, they're just difficult. How do you deal with people who just are not agreeable and everybody's having a hard time with?
Yeah. All right. Okay. So rules lawyers, I don't have that much of a problem with them, to be honest, because I understand as long as they're not using the rules lawyering to like get an edge and essentially like have the advantage, and they're just doing it because they think that I've overlooked something and I've made a mistake, because I do make mistakes because I've been playing D&D for a long time. I don't get that hyper focus on the rules. I tend to like want to focus on the fun and like the story and the game and what's happening. So if I get a rules lawyer and I've had them many times. It kind of depends on how much micromanagement they try to get involved with. Like if they're just helping me figure something out, or if they see that someone's doing something wrong and they correct them, I don't have a problem with it. I think that we should be following the rules as closely as possible without like letting it sort of overtake playing the game itself, right? But when a person, and I haven't had this happen in a game that I've ran, even though I've been in games where this has happened, when the rules lawyer is challenging the game master on everything that he does, or because, as a GM, it's your prerogative to change the rules if you need to do it. You're the final say at the end of the day,
Yeah.
So when the rules lawyer fights with the GM, or when the rules lawyer is using his knowledge of the rules to give him as many advantages as possible, and so he gets into this play D&D to win mindset, that's when I think they become disruptive and a problem. And I'll give you an example, because I do actually have a player right now that's kind of doing this. So I'm running a D&D game. I actually have a session tomorrow, and one of the people in my D&D game is a new guy who's very new to tabletop gaming, but he's really big into board games and video games and games where, knowing the mechanics inside and out to get the most advantage is generally not disruptive, right? Like if you play Magic the Gathering competitively, or if you're, you play video game RPGs or MMOs, and you know the mechanics inside and out, and you're using it to get the most advantage, it doesn't really hurt anybody that you do that, because you're up against a system. But when you are sitting at a table to play with other human beings, and the goal of D&D, and this is something that I can't stress enough, the goal of D&D is not to win at D&D. The goal of D&D is to essentially create memories. That's how I describe it. You play D&D to create memories. So you basically have moments in your game that were so much fun that you can look back on and say, oh yeah, I remember that time we did this. And a lot of times the greatest memories, they don't actually have a whole lot to do with the rules. The rules just kind of act as they help that, right? But they're not intrinsic. They're not necessary for it to work. So I have this guy, and the way that I run my games is I do an adventure for the players, and then I may decide after, depending on what I want to do, is the story might take them right into another adventure, depending on how things go, right? Or I may give them some downtime, be like, okay, you guys can spend time doing whatever you want for a few months, right? But I make that arbitrary number. I decide on my own, before, depending on what modules I want to run, because I don't write them anymore. I used to do that, but I don't have the time for that now. So I just buy everything, and then I just kind of make it work. And there's nothing wrong with that. The modules that are written up are pretty good. So I had just run them through an adventure against the Red Wizards of Thay. It was really long. The module wasn't the best because it was basically a league adventure that someone adapted to a tabletop adventure. And it doesn't really translate very well, but I had to make some changes so that it'll work for a small group. And when everything was over, this new guy, he was desperate to go and make magic items. He basically made a gnome wizard, and he wanted to go make magic items. And I I finished the adventure, and they were asking, I was telling the players, okay, you guys got 3 months of downtime, and then I'll do the next thing. Because I was already cooking up the next adventure, right? Which was Against the Giants, which is one of my favorites. And I like to run it through with different groups. And so my player, this new guy, he was fighting with me because he told me that we shouldn't get 3 months of downtime, that it should be longer. And I said, based on what? And it basically turned into this big thing where he got kind of involved in D&D through me. He never played it before, and I ran it for him, and he kind of fell in love with it. And so he started looking for games outside of my game, because my game is, every other weekend, optimistically. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but usually it's every other weekend. And I guess that wasn't frequent enough for him, so he ended up joining a league, the D&D Adventurers League, or one of those league games, living campaigns,
Yeah.
And when you play in those, the tone is very different. So when you play at a table with your friends, again, the goal of it is to create memories. You're trying to tell a fun story. You want to have your cool characters. You want them to interact. You want to fight some monsters, get some treasure, earn XP, level up, whatever, right? But when you're playing in a league game, it's different because you're not playing to role play. You're not playing to be in character. You're playing to win. You're basically trying to win the adventure, get the XP, and then like there's a fixed amount of downtime, and you use the gold to make magic items to power you up for the next adventure. And so it plays very, very mechanically. But I didn't know that. So this player was fighting with me about how much downtime he should get. And I was like, well, I'm going to look this up. So I went into my Dungeon Master's Guide, and there was nothing concrete. It just said, well, you know, you can do downtime, and it's up to you how long that is, and blah, blah. I was like, well, yeah, unless they changed it. Like, I had to make sure. But in my mind, it wouldn't make any sense that that downtime would be some strict mechanic.
Yeah.
Because it just sounds stupid, right? But he was insistent, and
there doesn't have to be any downtime.
No,
that's all up to you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like that you allow downtime.
Yeah.
No, he was positive that there should be a certain amount of downtime. And I was like, and then he also fought me on that because he believed that the amount of downtime and the amount of gold and the amount of time that you should have to make magic items is part of what balances out the whole game. So he's like, the rules are meant to function and like, you know, work together really well. And I said, no, that's not true. Unless D&D has changed. I'm like, look, I've been playing D&D for over 30 years. I knew this is a new system, but if they changed it that much, then D&D is shit. Like, I'm just going to say that. If that's how much they changed it. No, because
rules are just a guideline.
Well, yeah, that's true. But like, there are, I mean, this is my problem. And so I guess what you guys are asking about is a combination of both of these issues, rules lawyering and troubled players. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My main issue at the end of the day, and I told him this, I said, I understand that you're enthusiastic about playing D&D, so I don't hold you against you personally. And you know the guy I'm talking about, John, is Enrique. He was we played Cyberpunk, and I ran a Cyberpunk game, okay, the new Cyberpunk system, and I got John to come out to play the one shot. And Enrique was playing a solo, so I had these pre-made characters. And this guy, I'm sorry, I don't mean to name drop, but he was playing a solo. And the solos are basically like, they're the muscle. They're like the soldiers, right? They're the badasses of Cyberpunk.
The tanks.
Yeah, well, they're everything. Like they're just the badasses, right? When it comes to fighting, those are the guys.
They're Jedi.
Yeah, they're basically mercenary killers, right?
Yeah, so, like John Wick, man. They're John Wick.
Yeah, like they're John Wick. Yeah, they're just badass dudes. And this dude was, because he's so cautious when he plays. He plays it like it's like he's playing a video game or a tactical RPG where he's trying to do everything in his power to minimize any negative consequences while maximizing his effectiveness. And I get that players want to do that to some extent, but the problem is that he because as a result of that, his character is non-existent. Like there is no character there. There's just, you know, just stats, right? It's just numbers. And I remember in that Cyberpunk game, he got hit once, took 1 damage, and he was like just so upset over it. And like other people were like, you know, with their guts hanging out from the gunfight and everything. And this isn't even his character. These were prefabs that I gave out. It's not like he spent any time rolling this guy up and, you know, getting invested. So
wow,
we have a player who's new to the game, who never wants to be in any danger, who is a rules lawyer, who believes that I even asked the players, like, what is it about D&D that you guys enjoy? And I remember his answer was essentially making builds, getting magic items, and testing out the builds in combat to see how well they do. And I was like, I mean, yeah, sure, but again, you're treating this like a video game. So what I think is it's a matter of compatibility, right? If the whole party and the game master play their game like that, where they're like, we just want to level up and test out builds and fight monsters and get XP, then you're probably going to fit just fine. But if the players are more interested in maybe like a little bit of that, but also they want to try out different character personalities, they want to do exciting adventures, they want to, you know, engage in tremendous risks, like they want to have the Lord of the Rings experience, then that's just not a good fit for that, because the guy who's thinking of this as like this mechanical exercise is just not going to enjoy himself as much. So it's not just a problem for the rest of the party that there's this rules lawyer and troubling player, but it's also a problem for that player because at the end of the day, I had other guys in my party complaining to me. They were like, well, this guy's no fun to play with. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I just said to everybody, I said, what is it that you like about playing D&D? And we got all everybody's answers. And then I told them, I said, I know that this guy at the table wants to maximize every strategic advantage to milk everything for what it's worth. But what you guys should do is just be in character no matter what. So if your guy, if there's like something that's obviously dangerous in the next room, and the wizard, this guy who's like a min-maxing rules lawyer, is like, we shouldn't go in there. Instead, we should and then set up this elaborate thing so he can blow up the room without ever taking any damage. And you guys have to play along with his plan. Just don't do that. Just be the barbarian, kick the door down, and start some shit. And he'll just have to adapt.
Leroy Jenkins.
And that's what they did. I said,
There you go.
Don't compromise, because that's another side of it too, right? Is that when you have a person at the table that isn't really like they're making trouble for everybody else, but everybody else is trying to be considerate, and so they don't say anything, and they kind of bite their tongue or whatever. I say, well, don't do that, because it's going to make you upset.
Brian, one second. Yes, Eric, we were playing Cyberpunk Red. It's actually pretty cool. It's a really good advancement from what Cyberpunk was, in my opinion. For the one session that I played, it felt like they did the proper updates for the game. They didn't just, bog it down with new stats and new stuff. They actually made it comparable and made it more streamlined, but not oversimplified. So it was actually a good game. And
it's much better.
Saver Die says, "What's up, dog? What's up, Brian?" He's just saying,
"Hey, what's up?"
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm sorry.
No.
So Cyberpunk Red, I got the box set. It's quite awesome. I really like the Cyberpunk setting, so I'm hoping. I think the new books are supposed to be coming out later this year.
Is
what?
Not enough miniatures.
Oh, I know. Almost non-existent, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, I hear you.
3D printer, print them up.
No. It's not that they don't have any available. It's just not in the game. It's not a formula for the starters.
No. It's not. I mean, you can play it with miniatures. They clearly have it set up to where that's a thing you can do.
Shadowrun.
Yeah. But
Shadowrun.
Never heard of it.
Shadowrun is badass. It is awesome. I haven't played it since the old days, I guess, but it was such a cool game.
It had its place. I played it. It had its place. I don't think it was any better or worse than Cyberpunk. I just think it was what it was. I don't know. I felt like once I left D&D and I jumped in a sci-fi game, I was like, I'm still seeing orcs, and I'm still seeing magic, and I'm still seeing dwarves. Yeah. I was like, So I think it was at the time that I played it. It was just bad timing.
My whole point in getting into Cyberpunk, which was the game I played right after D&D, was I wanted something that was the opposite of D&D.
Right.
So I basically abandoned. I thought the Shadowrun was half-assing it, so I just went to Cyberpunk. Although I did try to play Shadowrun a couple times, but it seems like every experience I had was really bad. But I don't blame Shadowrun for that. I blame bad game masters for that. So going back to what I was saying, I think that the solutions to these problematic players is you got to establish up front. You got to have a session zero where you establish up front what is the tone of the game going to be, what are people's expectations, what are they hoping to get out of it, and make sure the players know about it. When rules lawyering comes up, if what they say is useful and it's not disruptive, I'm usually grateful, and I say, thanks for pointing that out. I didn't know that. If we're in the middle of something and someone brings up a thing, I usually ignore that, let the encounter go, because you don't want to slow things down, and then just say, okay, from now on, we're going to remember this rule that we ignored. Because it's not like it break, this guy had this belief that the rules work like some kind of airtight program. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, if you just throw one thing off, then people just start dying. It's not like that. Really, you play fast and loose with it. And the fact is that as a GM, there's a certain tone and expectation that I'd like out of a D&D game. But after playing for as long as I have, I know now that to get a group that's going to like line up with that vision, it's just really, really rare. And people are just going to have different goals. Like they just have different things they want. As far as like the disruptive player goes, I say to the other players, don't let this guy compromise your style, no matter what. Be in character, keep playing, and if the player will either adapt, because it's just one person. It's 1 against 5, right? Or 4, or whatever. The other 4 are gonna like, if they stick to the plan, then that guy's gotta either adapt or he's gonna like not work out. And then, you just gotta deal with that. So like,
so how do you deal with that, B? How do you ask, I don't recall, but
having to kick somebody out?
Yeah, like have you ever had to do that? Like,
no, I've had to talk to people.
I mean, I know games ended. I know our games ended because so and so was like, he got pissed off and he just disappeared or whatever, and then the game slowed down or whatever. Life.
Yeah.
But I don't ever recall you having to say, hey, I think it's not working out for you or whatever. So how do you do that?
No, I've never done that before. But like generally, it's because it hasn't been so serious that I've had to do that.
Right.
So what I try to do is I take another approach. Like the reason why I ran that one-shot Cyberpunk game was because I wanted this guy who's new to D&D. Again, he's coming at this new thing with like this video game mindset, and he's just trying to like apply that to tabletop gaming or this board game mindset. Like he plays a lot of board games, and he has that same like crush mentality. So, and actually one of the criticism I have about D&D in general is that it kind of, to some extent, it encourages that, because most other role-playing games don't actually do that. They tend to be more thematic. They tend to be a little bit looser with the rules. They tend to encourage people to be creative. D&D has a pretty strict way in which everything functions. So he's a wizard. He knows exactly what all of his ranges are, how big the spells are, what abilities are going to... And so like he kind of... It invites mechanical thinking, and he brings that to the table. But he doesn't add much in the... No, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. He adds no color at all. So when his character acts, it's just a series of mechanical actions. So what I do is I encourage the other players to compensate for that, be descriptive, be colorful, because that's what we're trying to do. Have a lot of fun with it. And maybe he'll see that the way he's doing things is probably not going to give him the most fulfilling experience. And so I also try to run other one-shots. Like I'm going to do another one. Currently, the players are going through the Against the Giants trilogy, which is 3 parts. You go against Hill Giants, and then Frost Giants, and then Fire Giants, because they're about level 11. So when the Hill Giants is over, I'm going to run another one-shot of a game called Mothership, which is sort of like a science fiction horror game.
I've heard of that one.
I'm in.
And if you want to try it out, and so like the point, it's basically like Event Horizon.
Buddy.
So
if you guys haven't seen Event Horizon,
cheers.
Magic. It can be Event Horizon or Alien or Annihilation or whatever, but like any sort of cosmic horror science fiction game.
So
and
real quick, Eric says that he did pick up the Jumpstart set. I'm assuming that's for Cyberpunk, and he also says that Infinity miniatures work really well for Cyberpunk. Yes, Eric, they are. That's exactly what Infinity is basically Cyberpunk. But, and I'm only throwing this out as a simple. The Infinity line right now is all pewter, and it's all multi-piece pewter models. I actually have some still sitting in packages.
How do you put them together?
Because they're pretty
glue.
Well, listen,
Super glue.
I'm an experienced model builder. I mean, I've been building models before I could read. So I'm telling you, as far as miniatures go, they are very complex to put together. So they're great miniatures. They look beautiful when they're done, but you've got to be prepared.
Yeah, I've looked at them.
You got to have some skills when it comes to working with pewter, super glue, pin vicing, because they're complex models. So they are good, like you said. And Hate says that he likes the way that they integrated magic into Shadowrun. He also quoted up top, Shadowrun, because he's the freaking Shadowrun freak. He loves Shadowrun.
Okay. So Brian, question. Okay, so on the other subject we was on, do you prefer physical copies or digital copies of your stuff?
Of handbooks and...
I like the physical copies. I do have digital copies, but like the problem with digital copies is like I have to have a laptop handy. It takes up space. Also, I have a tablet, but it's kind of slow, and like I'm trying to find the thing. With a physical copy of the book, I basically just put some bookmarks in there, and I can like go with what I need like right away. I prefer the physical copies of things. I actually just got. Oh, go ahead.
I still have yet to answer this question, but after you, Brian.
We know what you like.
You like the Dwarven Forge.
I was just gonna say that I just got a book in the mail. I just got a book in the mail for another game I'm dying to like demo for people. It's called Hollow Earth Expedition.
Dude, I've been wanting to freaking play this game forever.
Yeah, I have it. I have the main book. I'll tell you.
You guys should look it up. It's actually really
Hollow
cool.
Earth Expedition is awesome. So like I ran a demo of it once years ago when I went to Gen Con. It was maybe the last time I went to Gen Con was a long time ago. And I remember it was so much fun. There was this guy at my table named Sean, who's a friend of mine. And Sean had never played at a table with me before. I knew him. We played board games together because I was like good friends with his wife at the time, who I'd known for much longer. And he sat down with me to play Hollow Earth Expedition, and we had so much fun that he was literally crying tears of joy and hugging me because it was so good. And basically what it is Hollow Earth Expedition is basically like a pulp role-playing game that takes place in the 1930s. And the idea is it's like exploring the Earth, and like there's like dinosaurs and things. Yeah,
Journey to the center of the Earth,
and there's Nazis, and think of like any
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Journey to it's basically it's that. It's Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's The Mummy. It's Indiana Jones. It's like that kind of stuff, and it encourages creative gameplay. It encourages people who improvise, who take risks, who try fun things. And that's what I like. I like that in my RPGs. I like those, and the system is really simple, and it's like fast paced. It's like there's chases and there's like fun action and all that. It's just a really good time. So I just got in the mail a book of adventures for Hollow Earth Expedition, and I'm excited to try it out because I think that it would further sort of drive home the thing that I want to communicate to players like this guy who I'm talking about, who's only played D&D. And I think that D&D is definitely a gateway to get into RPGs, and I wouldn't play anything else for fantasy but D&D. If I wanted fantasy, I'm only going to play D&D. That's just where my brain is at. I know that there's other fantasy games out there. Some of them may even do it better. But when it comes to just like Lord of the Rings style sword and sorcery, it's always going to be D&D for me. But when it comes to other genres, I think that D&D is a good like gateway drug to get people into tabletop gaming. So,
okay, Cujo.
Well, I'm going to start off with saying I love hard books too. I actually love turning pages, but they end up collecting dust on my shelves. When I'm playing an adventure, if I'm using a module, I'll have that module in front of me. But I will have my tablet on D&D Beyond. I have pre-made all the a bunch of encounters that I know that they'll probably come up against. I can make a bunch of random encounters already pre-made, and now they just released to subscribers like myself the ability to track all your hit points to all those creatures, and it's so you're not having to use. I usually have a scratch pad where I'm keeping track of my hit points, and I'm looking at I got monster cards here, I got my tablet, I got my book, and it's like it's getting better and more streamlined. And now they're going to be releasing where you can roll dice. I'm not for that. I'm not really a digital dice guy, of course, but
There's a Chrome extension for that for D&D Beyond.
I think with my players, I'd love them to have a big tablet. I don't prefer the phones. They're really small, so the character sheets on their phones it's not really that good. It's doable if that's all you got, and they really want to do it. You can really quickly keep track of your spell slots. You hit a button and it says, okay, boom, I used a level 1. I used a level 2. I know you can do that with paper, but it's like you can easily take a short rest and or a long rest, and everything resets automatically. It's really cool. I do not recommend. They have paper sheets in front of them, and they use them actually a lot. If they have a tablet or something larger where they can read it easily and get a lot more information in front of them, they do that too. But they have their paper characters. But for me as a DM, D&D Beyond is getting better and better. I mean, I watch all their updates. I see everything that they're working on. They take DM and player advice on what to work on next. They're trying to get player character sheets on their app, so that you don't have to actually go onto a website, which is going to be great. Everybody's been really like every single stream they do, which they stream like every couple days, at least definitely every week, is when is the player character sheet going to come out on an app? When is it, So I'd say I love digital. I love it. I've got everything they ever made for 5th edition, and I love everything they got. All the tools they have for DMs, and they're getting better and better. They're listening to DMs out there. They're making it better. And I love the books, though. I have the limited edition books. I love turning pages. I'll just sit on I don't use it at the game that much. I'll sit and look through Bowler's Guide and just look through it and read it. And I just like turning the pages, the physical pages, and just reading, and that's like my leisure time. But I have the adventure sitting in front of me, but half the time I can be in the adventure on my tablet and then go, man, what's that? And I can hit a word, and it takes me right to where I wanted to go. And I've got everything, a spell. I can, if I'm in a crunch, you just hit search. This spell, bam. There's no rules, lawyers, because I can get the rule in 5 seconds.
So the one thing I don't like about
real quick. Ryogen Eric says that he likes both pretty much the same. He loves physical copies at the table, but that he actually likes to use the digital copies, especially when he's not at home. When he's at work, he can actually research things at work through the digital copies, and you've got like every book at your disposal. Makes sense.
Yeah, I read at work too.
Save or Die says physical copies don't lag, which is true. Rivers is pretty much saying the same thing. He uses his phone pretty much to do research when he's not at his physical copies. And Jeff, I don't know who Jeff is, but
that's my cousin.
Okay, he says finally got reconnected. So welcome aboard, Jeff.
Here's my problem with the digital copies.
Mm-hmm.
If you got the physical copies, why should you have to pay more again to get the digital copies?
Hey, bud, listen.
Hey.
Let me tell you something real quick, okay? Every army book I buy for Warhammer 40K to have a physical copy, they sell the digital copy for half the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's just the way it is, man.
Well, that's how they do it on D&D Beyond.
Somebody still does the work. Somebody still does the work to make that copy.
Just to finish, and that brings up a good point, Critical. That's what I wanted to finish with. The books are expensive, right? Mm-hmm. But once you buy them, you've got them, and they're in front of you, and they're never going to go away. You've got all that advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You got all that 3.5 for Rivers, and you have a shit ton of books, and they're all there. They're never going to go away. I totally understand that, but with digital copies, you can get them half the price if you don't get the hard copies. I got everything on digital. I don't have everything on hard book, but so you can get into it cheaper on digital. Yeah, but why it is different is
too. We talked about that in getting started in Dungeons and Dragons. There's no reason. I mean, here's the thing. We want to run out and get the books, right? Like we want to run out and get it and have it and smell it and go through the pages. That's what everybody wants to do. It sounds silly, but it's the truth, right? But in all reality, to play the game, you do not need to do that. You don't need to spend $40 on a book. You can go and get a digital copy for half.
And just so I don't.
If you're creative enough, there's websites that have them for free.
And I don't know.
I'm just saying.
I don't know if Brian plays. You play 5th, of course, and probably all the other editions too. But with that, if you have everything that I buy as a DM, my players have access to. When they're making a character on D&D Beyond, they'll have every single thing I have. Everything I let them have. I can turn off things that they can't have. But it's like a smorgasbord, and they can make 6 characters for free. They don't have to have an account. They don't have to have a membership. So it's the DM that has to take all the cost. So I buy all the books, and I let my players pick anything they want. They can make up to 6 characters max, so they can just kill a character off and then make a new character.
Do you play? I'm sorry. Do you play in real, like in person with your players, or
Yes.
is this all online? Okay.
All in person. I got two groups that I play all in person.
Yeah, I
Cujo,
play
I got a
in person
question.
too.
What are you going to do when they shut the site down on all the digital stuff?
Well, that's why that's why the backup is going to be the books.
Okay. So like this isn't, you're not actually paying to get the file itself. You're paying
Access
like
to it.
it's kind of like
Well,
a service.
I'll tell you this, that
Yeah,
their app, I don't know about their website, as far as, everybody asks that, like, what if it shuts down? And there hasn't really been a history of like, hey, that website's just gone now. They're just totally gone. But I don't know what they would have to do if they would let you get ST files and you'd be able to download everything. I don't know how that would work because they have programs. Obviously, there wouldn't be any more updates. There wouldn't be, any more of that kind of stuff. They, wouldn't be paying anybody to work on anything else. It would just be probably what it is my guess. But in the end, too, there's an app, and then whatever's already on that app, you have access to. So I can access all the books on the app. There's just not all the mechanical things on the app as you do on the website. So that is always the scary thing. That is what people always say when they talk about digital stuff, and what happens if they just turn it off.
It's that prof.
4th edition, they just did that.
Because it sucked.
I like that.
I didn't want
My
to say
cousin
that.
says change my mind.
Everyone was waiting for them to turn that off. But it's
Ultraviolet.
like I'm. That's one thing that I guess I'm envious of as far as D&D Beyond is that integration between all the products that you're saying. You can look at one thing and jump across to the other, and cross and zip across books. Like, I guess I've got like a stupid amount of books compared to most people.
Oh no!
I suppose,
No, I don't think so.
You think you do till you meet that guy that has more, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
so
Like,
bad.
I've got
Cujo.
300 and something like AD&D books, and I'm not even close to having everything that they made. Like, I've got most of the core stuff, and things get reprinted, magic items get reprinted, but then there's editors, they revise it, and at least with that digital stuff, they correct.
It's always updated. Yeah, all the errata is always updated.
That is what's
like.
nice about it.
Yeah, if they make something new, they update the basic rules. You don't gotta worry about if you've got the basic rule set. Well, when did you buy those books? Well, I bought them like 2 years ago. I bought them in the first year. Well, this is year 5. They've already updated all the rules for that. But what did they update? Well, you can download those for free, and then you can have some pages in front of you.
And I think that's awesome for like one as the DM's toolkit, so all the resources in one place. But if you've started a new group of players and you're committed to the game and you're going to keep playing, well, then one person can buy one book, another person can buy another book, and have it all on there, and everyone's got access to it then. So can, in a cheaper fashion, get a lot more material for the collective group to use
especially if you got family and tight friends, you can definitely do that.
Yeah. What about you, Rivers? What do you prefer?
I prefer both, actually. Like I said, I use my phone at work to look stuff up on the SRD20, and then I use my books at home, and I use the computer to print stuff out for monsters. So I like them both. But hey, I'm gonna get running here, guys. So it's been great chatting with you.
Rivers, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and y'all have a good game.
Wait, real quick, Rivers. You want to take the opportunity to plug your channel, and also if you've got anything coming up for your channel, let everybody know now.
Yeah, I got a video just released today. It's Rivers RPG channel, and I right now I'm in a phase of collecting miniatures from D&D. So
some nice ones too.
I got a bunch of minis, and I got another video I'm probably going to drop tomorrow or Sunday on more minis that I picked up. So
awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And if you guys that are watching, if you guys want to chat with Rivers more, he's definitely on the Tabletop Dungeoneers Discord. Pretty much,
the links in
not
the
all the time, but he's
below.
there. You can definitely find him there in the Tabletop Dungeoneers. Thanks, River.
Thanks,
Rivers. Thanks, dude.
So
Good, thank you.
Jeff says
Cheers.
he likes the.
Cheers.
Jeff says he likes digital better because he can put it all in his pocket.
Sure, absolutely.
Man,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
can take
understand.
that.
I could be at work and I'm like, man, I got a session coming up. I'm doing 2 minute annihilation, so I'm like, I got to prepare a little bit. I've got to read. I can just scroll through the pages and read a little bit, and I'm at work. I mean, I'm not going to take my books to work. I mean, number one, I work in the South, and guys in the South aren't very
D&D friendly.
board game friendly, D&D friendly. I mean, basically, you need to fish, hunt, have a
Get her
big
done.
have a big truck, and there's nothing about that. I love big trucks.
Yeah.
I
I live in the
don't
country in the
hunt.
Midwest. It's the
I don't
same way.
hunt, but they would not take
I understand.
too lightly to dungeon. I got
Well, I mean,
D&D books under my
basically
sleeve.
What you're saying is it allows your discretion, basically, and that's
Oh yeah.
a value. I could see the value in that. I mean, listen.
In building a
Before
story,
I even bought
I
these
can do that
books,
one.
these
Yeah,
core books,
yeah.
I had all 3 core books digitally for over 2 years.
Sorry.
I really never really delved into it. Every once in a while, I'd look at it on my phone and okay, whatever. But I mean, and I got them free. One of my buddies gave me a link. I downloaded them, and there they were. But I still wanted the physical copies for myself, for
Yeah.
my table, for the actual event when I'm running the game. And okay, here's the player's handbook. Take a look real quick. I'll get my rules lawyer and say, hey man, look up this rule real quick so we don't sit on this for like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? We're just gonna burn through it and figure it out. If we can't, I'll make a decision, and that'll be that until the end of the game.
I mean, look at me. I had the core rule books. I went out and got the limited edition core rule books. I don't even use the books. Period. I mean, but now I got the limited core.
use the books.
Now it's like I got these really fancy books. I'm just like, God, these are so awesome.
Send them my way, please.
And I'm like, I don't even want to look at them now. And now I want to give I got the other ones boxed up, still ready to go to Blue. I got to ship them off. I'm like, I want to stick some more stuff in there. I told Blue, I said, I got to get it heavier or something. I got to make this worthwhile. If it's going to cost me like $60-some to get it to you, I got to put
that's
some,
a beginning, ain't it?
I got to put some more stuff in there because there's no way I'm just going to, I want to give you these books for free, but it's going to cost me over $60 to get them to you. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to throw some more stuff in there.
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, you could print out maps, for him or whatever.
Something.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, it's still coming. It's still in the box right over there. I can see it. So
The guy who won my subscriber giveaway, my 200 subscriber giveaway, he just got the package today, and he was shocked because I threw a whole copy of the player's handbook in there for him, as well as that dragon drawing.
Yeah.
When I did the other day, I threw that in there too because I was like, I'm sending this box. I don't want to just send him the box.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But he was happy. I mean, he's not a big D&D player. He's more 40K and War Machine, but he's actually going to look into playing D&D now. So, hey, score one for the good guys, right?
Can I ask you guys a question? Because I have a challenging question, I think.
Go for it.
Well, kind of. So I'm running this against the Giants Adventure. I actually got someone to print me custom-made miniatures to represent the players in my group. So we are using minis. And I've like talked with John and like some other people about loaning me some Giants miniatures. I've ordered some online, and look, they're not that many available, and they're really expensive. And I don't want to buy a whole shit ton of Giants to use them for like an adventure and then put them on the shelf. But that as an aside, here's my problem: the actual dungeons in this adventure, they're fucking huge. Like they're humongous maps. The rooms are big as fuck. And I have I'm sorry, is it okay that I'm cursing?
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's called D&D After Dark.
Okay.
Hashtag not for
we're
kids.
gonna change the name to D&D After fucking Dark.
Hey, hashtag not safe for kids.
Hashtag motherfuckers.
Here we go. Gotta make hashtag not for kids.
Are you just saying that now because your mom's not on there anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
she watches
Mario
Critical
on there.
Role. They fucking draw dicks on shit and penises and stuff. And I'm like, she's like, she
Brian.
gets into it. She loves it.
Brian,
What?
I'm waiting for you to come have lunch with
Yeah,
me.
I don't need those just yet, but thank you. I will get them. So, but this is my problem. I have a dining room table. It's a dining room table that sits about 6 people comfortably, right?
Okay.
If you like work at it, you can probably squeeze in 2 more, but that makes things uncomfortable. So it's not huge, but I don't have a lot of table space for the size of these maps that I need to use for the combats. So what I'm wondering about is if there are any alternative solutions. Now, there's one thing I did see that there was like a
Ultimate Dungeon Shrine.
there was a I've been using the wet erase mats. I have a bunch of those, right?
Yeah.
And those are fine, but it's the problem is the dungeons are just so damn big because they're made for giants. So the actual map itself is big.
I might have a solution. Hang on. It might. I don't know. Hang on.
What kind of surface area are you talking about that would be playable for the board? Like 3x3?
LOL, Captain Compliant.
No, it's bigger. It's bigger than that. It's probably like a 3
No, like the playable board area for like your miniatures. Like I know it'd be a bigger table maybe. Like I've got like a 6-foot table.
And everybody's character sheets and dice and all that.
Yeah.
And my screen. Yeah, you're probably looking at a 3x3 if that.
Okay, that's doable.
What I do,
but you got to do it in sections. You got to really just.
So here's what I found.
You can't lay out a whole map. You're gonna have to.
Can you just do like a whole map on one sheet as a scaled out version, and you can just use something small to indicate player location, and then when combat comes in, then bring in the second map where it's more zero.
Because when it gets into combat, that's when I like to try to bring out. Okay, you're in combat right now, and this is the area. If you step out of that area, I'm going to assume that you're trying to run away from the combat. Yep. So here's the combat space. Boom, 3x3 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
and all your obstacles that are there, all your corridors.
Brian, I found this at like Office Depot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 20 bucks or something like that. You can't see it, but it actually has blue grid on here, like a graph paper, and it's 1-inch squares. Okay, so this is a perfect size for Dungeons and Dragons, and it comes in a bunch of sheets. So you draw your rooms that you know you're going to have combat in. Just the rooms. And then you can either cut them out, or you could leave them on the page if you want to. And then you can make hallways with the rest of the pieces, because everything is pretty much squared. So you can use the leftover sections for hallways or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing is to control the combat area, right? So you want to keep it to where, like, if they're in a giant hall, like the dining hall, right, which is a quintessential giant combat situation.
Yeah.
You're in the dining hall. You make your dining hall. You draw it out. I mean, it's going to take work on the DM's part because you have to doodle it out and whatever.
It's fine.
But you actually have it. You can actually pull it out just that area.
Yeah, you gotta limit it down.
To that area, you either use this hallway that you came from, which could be an exit, is now being charged in by giants. They're trying to get through a door that was locked or whatever. However you see fit. If you want to add the hallway, you can via this method. Now, the cool thing, the reason I bought this was because I got tired of running dragon encounters or flying monster encounters on tiny little maps where the monster could not utilize its flying. So you could literally string 2 or 3 of these together and have a giant map. Again, you have to draw it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those curses that we have as DMs, right? Like,
it's funny you say this because I use Dwarven Forge, obviously, if you've seen some of my videos, and I don't like to. I used to, when you first start getting into it, you're like, I've got all this stuff. I got here's the map layout. I'm going to try to reenact the whole map, and it's going to take up my whole table, and I'm going to have to try to cover up certain areas, and I don't like doing that. I'm like, okay, I know where the encounters are going to be at. This is going to be a minor encounter. I'm going to role play that one out. This is the major encounter. Okay, I'm going to build that out of the room, and then and I've got these terrain trays that are basically like just a tray that you can build a little room out of 12 by 12 and bring it out into when they hey, you've came into that room. I can bring that out, or I can bring a couple of them if you wanted to make a bigger area, but make the encounter really special. Role play to that next encounter. And not go down this hall and that corridor and actually have a map. I mean, if you want to draw it out like he's doing, you want to draw it out on your white dry erase board, that's great. You can do that too. Draw out the getting there. If you want to really go moving 35 feet and you're moving 35 feet and you're doing that. And then when the big encounter comes, it's like, okay, take that dry erase board away and we're gonna put like this big
See,
counter
that
on
was,
here.
That was my big thing, right? Like I had the dry erase board or the wet erase, whatever it was. It's the vinyl map, right? And I had a huge one. You know, it was like 3 feet by 2.5 feet. It was pretty. It was the biggest one you could get from ChessX, and I loved it, right? Because you 3 marker, you draw whatever you want, right? But I realized I'm standing up every 5 minutes, drawing something new. Now
that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, don't do that no more.
Then I got to come back and redraw because they went through that encounter super fast, right? And then I'm gonna do this, or then I start to get to the point where it's like I get tired. I'm like, all right, Joe, can you please clean the map for me, or Rob, can you please clean the map for me? You know what I'm saying? And then you get into that kind of thing. Everybody, got to clean the map, and then you say, all right. You come into this open corridor, the sunlight hits your face, but before you can, you clear your vision, you see a party of orcs standing before you. What are you guys going to do? Wait, before you do it, let me spend half an hour drawing this map.
Yeah.
No.
Well, see, you know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you what I
you with a
yeah, what do you do?
Map.
Well, this is what I do right now for this particular adventure. Typically, with other ones that I've run before, I have lots of maps like the wet erase mats, and some of them are really big, like really big ones. But some of them are so big that they don't really fit on the table with everybody's shit. That's the largest one I have. It's just big enough. But what I do now is with this adventure I'm currently still running, the Studying of the Hill Giant Chief, is I draw all of the what I did at first was I drew all of the rooms in different mats. So I had like the west wing, the east wing, and the center. And then I assume there's no way the player is going to make it far north enough to where we're going to see that this week. But I'm prepared for whatever decisions they may make because I have the maps. And then when they do that, I'll just bring out the appropriate mats for that action. But then I moved away from that because it was like creating a lot of work, and I think that, and the players didn't get that far anyway. And then I thought, well, here's what I'll do is I'll only draw out the rooms because I have multiple mats that there will be encounters in.
Right.
And then I draw like the actual map, like that they've completed, because the thing about these old first edition AD&D maps is that they were they're very maze-like, like the areas.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and so like you might not have any encounters. You'll be like, and then there's a hall, and at the end of this hall, there's like a door here, and there's a door here, and you have to like explain where everything is. Then the player, and there's nothing there. There's nothing else but doors, and hallways and open areas that open up. So I draw it on the graph paper, and I just show them. I tell them what it is, and I show them the graph paper so they can see it. But I saw a couple of solutions, and so like I've had a lot of experience running D&D, but I don't know what the latest technology is. So there's a couple of things I was thinking about. I think that what Jonathan's proposed is actually, I really like that with a disposable paper, because I can just draw it the one time, and then when it's over with, I throw the paper away.
What you can do, Brian, is you can buy like a poster frame, put that paper in a poster frame, and just dry erase on it. That way you can just erase it.
But then you're adding another whole purchase and commodity and step, and like I said, you don't even have to throw these out if you draw it right. You could
there's something else I saw. You could file it and use it for another time. Sure. And I don't disagree with that either. But if I have it on paper, I can also take notes on that paper. I could just I break the wall and I just draw it. It's broken here, and like you can do more to it, right? But another thing is that I saw some other possible solutions or some other things that people have talked about. So I guess what I'm asking about is it's more about not what's been done before, but what is sort of like upcoming. It seems like you guys are up on like what the new ways that people play D&D. So I saw a Kickstarter for this, but I bet that there are other versions that have done this. They actually have these things that are like table toppers. Yeah, and so it's like a table. I was just
going to suggest that.
Yeah, that you put on top of your table.
Yeah. I've seen it.
But it gives you a bunch of space, and people's hands are down under here, right? So their character sheets and their dice and everything are underneath. So they're not like, and their food, because, like when the fucking pizza comes, that takes up table space, and, or the chicken wings or whatever. So the table topper is one thing that I was looking at, like, oh, that's cool, because I've been thinking about getting a new table. Like, I've always wanted one of those big round tables that you see at the cons, the hotel tables.
Yeah.
But a table topper is one thing. And then I've also heard about, maybe there's like some projector screen. I know it sounds expensive, but it probably isn't, that displays the map and you can move it like
laptop?
And you
Yeah, you buy an inexpensive TV and they sell frames where you can actually set it on the table.
With the TV, the monitor
yeah. And then you can like basically digitally put the map there and like hide what you want, like you're playing Roll20 or something.
There's a touchscreen TV, okay, that's designed for not for this specifically, but this TV was so good you could actually take your miniature. And you could put marks at the bottom of the miniature. Once you set the miniature down on that map, the computer registers who that is and where they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars, but that's an amazing system. Man.
So,
that's
something that I would probably have.
But you can go even cheaper, just a normal projector, like a normal data projector. If you attach that to the ceiling, then any table you can use. And I've seen a few people do it. The maps are in Photoshop, and then they just have a layer for like fog of war, just erase it as the things progress. So.
I was thinking about that too, because if I did that, that would save me crazy amounts of time. All I would need is the digital, like, JPEG or whatever of the map, and I can just share what I want them to see as they move, and it saves us tremendous time, and I get to use the miniatures. So I
want to say that program. What's that? Is it Roll20?
Roll20. There's two programs out there, Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. Roll20 is free.
Fantasy Grounds, right. Okay, so those programs, I think they just added something to... Because Roll20 is the original one, right? Like
Roll20 is the original.
The actual
it's also
original
called,
one.
I think there's like DM's Tools or something like that. DM Toolkit.
So Roll20 has a system where you can create the fog of war on their maps. Like, so when you project their maps...
Like, you got to be a subscriber.
Yeah, I played in those. I played in those. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I'm just saying, real quick...
Jeff says 2 maps, letter of the rooms, number of the entrances on the first. Second is the only ones. Second,
I ran this one adventure. I got to tell you this real quick. I ran this one adventure, the one I did before the Giants. It was called Dead and Thay. Recommendation: don't run it for your players.
I heard it's not good.
It's not very good.
What is?
It's called Dead and Thay, and it was about the Red Wizards of Thay. But it's basically one of these. I don't mind any of that, but it was one of these mega dungeons that somebody was like, I'm going to make a crazy huge dungeon. And it's like, it doesn't get much more money hall than that. But at the end, which was the most exciting thing, at the end, you're in this vault, and it's like in this pocket dimension. And the vault itself is like a polyhedral 4-sided pyramid that's constantly rotating. You have to make that a map. Right? And they show you the map. So I had to draw it out in 4 sections and number the edges and tell the players, if you go to this edge and you go up against this wall, then you're going to move over to this map over here. I mean, it was crazy. I made it work, but I was like, I'm trying to make a 3-dimensional object into a 2-dimensional map. It was like, it's sort of like some of the flying creatures. That's another aspect of the map making that I think can be, it can diminish the potential of an encounter, because if you here's the thing, there's a meta level to this. If the players are exploring and they're entering a room and you like bring the map out, then they know something's about to go down. So it changes their behavior. And it works a lot better if you never have to bring anything out and there's just like this, a map that's there, or you're doing the theater of the mind thing or whatever. And that way the players never know when something's going to happen. So they're not like prepared.
I tell you what, my game has stepped up since I've not done what I said earlier, like put the whole map out and try to cover it up, because they know that, hey, that area over there, he's never uncovered that yet. We got to go explore that. We got to get there somehow. So I said, whoa, I changed my whole game up. I'm like, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
it's so much more thrilling, and I still get so anxious to bring out the terrain that sometimes that I don't describe what they're looking at, and I just bring it out, and I'm like, oh shit, wait a minute.
There's also
that's why I was using the dungeon tiles. Those dungeon tiles. Really, really useful.
Yeah,
like, I
Grim.
Just went crazy on
that is true.
Grim has been making a lot of cheap dungeon tiles, man.
I was using the actual official, the D&D cardboard tiles, like the card tiles.
Oh yeah, I've got those too.
I have an entire duffel bag
for the board game.
No, from the actual Dungeons
and Dragons
tiles. Like
yeah, they have
created like packets.
Just cardboard, real easy.
Just, usually double sided. And I just went buck wow because I was like, this is perfect because
I
can
bought
only
some,
down
but I don't know if they were the D&D ones.
Yeah.
Do you get like a bunch of like curved pieces and like kind of gray stone?
There's some. You have dungeon tiles, you have wilderness tiles, and you had like city tiles, right? Those were the main sets. But each one of those, like in the beginning, they were releasing like the downed abbey. So it was like a wilderness setting with a ruined abbey in the center, and you could
I do have those.
And
I do have the dungeon tiles. Yeah,
those are, to me, was one of the best. Like I stopped using my map,
yeah,
my big drawing map, because I was like, no, I don't. Now I can just throw down the tiles that I need when I need them. And they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, the only problem with dungeon tiles, because I do have them and I use them for Ravenloft a little bit towards the end. The only problem is that what's printed on them is awfully specific, and sometimes you can't use it for like a pre-written adventure. Like if you're doing your own thing, you can use them to plan things out. But if you're running something that's established, and they're like, like I was running Ravenloft, and the dungeon tiles, some of them I might need a certain number of 4x4 to make a room, and I'll get the ones I need, but then I'll have a couple of extras that are like just rocks, or there's like a pool, or there's like a giant magic circle on them, and I have to tell the players that that's not actually a magic circle. It's like it's a little bit limiting, but I get what you're saying. Yeah,
this is going to go for all of you guys that's using terrain tiles or cardboard tiles or even my Dwarven Forge. I still get hung up to this day by trying to run a module, and I look at the map and I say, I've got to build this with my terrain. And I can't. So I try, and I'm like, no, but I need this. I need 2 more squares this way. And I'm trying to work all the time to get myself out of that mindset. They don't know what the hell the module is.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the way the map was written. I just need to know it's a cave right now. There's this the main thing that's in the cave. I want it to be around the same size, but if it's not going to be the right shape, or it doesn't, the way they drew it, hey, this is my cave. I'm adjusting it on the fly right now, and it's hard to get out of that mindset. I want to mimic exactly what that map says, and you can do that when you're drawing it out. If you've got a big blank slate and you can, make it exactly the way you want, then that's the way you have to do it.
But that's why the tiles I'm sort of making now, I'm trying to make them really generic. So there's a big square room, but if there's going to be like a fountain or a pool or a crater or some sort of idle thing or whatever, that'll just be an extra thing that I can plonk on top. And if I was running a module where, I don't run pre-written modules, I run my own, but if I had a thing like this giant encounter where massive sort of geography to cover, I think for me, I would be doing, I guess, theater of the mind to describe it as best I can. And when the combat actually starts, I'll be like, righto, fellas, give me a minute, 2 minutes, and then I'll drop the stuff down on the table that they're fighting. But I wouldn't drop it down before they sort of stumbled across whatever they're going to start fighting with. Describe it to the point, and then I would drop the stuff down. But that's
that's
me.
The thing too. Like,
that's what I do that too. But like, I would rather wait.
See, the tiles for me is like, you have to do pre-planning. Right, like you just have to with those things, because you don't want to. I've done it. I've actually ran dungeons where they've got the game ended and they were still doing stuff. I had to take a picture of the dungeon because I didn't know what time we were coming back or when we were coming back, so it helped out. But yeah, definitely pre-plan your dungeons, especially with tiles, because you can draw it like quick on the spot, if you've got a module or whatever. But if you're looking at a module and you see that map come up, like, okay, where are they going to have the biggest encounters? Let me prep those dungeons. And I mean, it's like the drawing. It's going to take your time up on Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just unfortunate that that's just what it is. If you had the money, like if I had the money, I'd have a table with a light and a TV and just boom, click, done. But you just don't. You know what I mean? I just don't personally. But that is what that is, right? So like looking at the paper pad, I was like, I got to figure out the best way, most affordable way for me to be able to, because I like the dungeon tiles, but those are all, like Brian said, a lot of them have very specific scenery on them. And while you can tell your players, hey, just imagine that's not there, they can't help but to see it because it's literally printed on the tile. And unless you're going to buy like me, where I bought 3 of every set when they first came out because I thought they were too small. I was like, there's no way I'm going to put an encounter with fire or even a hill giant. I'm not going to put a hill giant in this encounter because he's not going to be able to take advantage of his rock throwing because he's like right there. So I went and bought like a couple sets of each of them. You know, I went buck wild, and I have hundreds of tiles. But like he said, you know, I need those corners up. My corners are all full of stalactites and stalagmites. You know, and I'm not in a cavern, and that's all I have left. It's just going to take away from the disbelief. It's going to suspend that disbelief. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So in the comics right now, I read some of them off earlier. Like here. I like how it went from poster frame is too expensive to let's buy a huge touchscreen TV so that reads on minis.
Well, listen, we can pipe dream, right? Like,
but heaven forbid a poster frame is too expensive.
A poster frame is too expensive, but you know, let's go get a $1,000, $2,000 TV.
No. They're 2 different contexts, right? Like you're talking about 2 different contexts, you guys. Okay. First of all, we're talking about what he is going to go spend money on. I would not recommend a poster frame. But if you're talking about like if I just hit you with a sack of $1 million, go buy whatever you want. I doubt you're going to buy D&D stuff.
I know what I would buy.
Okay. The projector thing isn't a bad idea because those are getting cheaper and cheaper all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you can get one for pretty inexpensive now. And if I think it's going to like enhance the game, and the thing is, it's reusable like over and over and over. All I got to do is put the image in, boom.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for an inexpensive flat screen that like lays down like a large.
You know, the cool thing is too, if you just use an overhead projector, you can increase the size and scale of that map to any size you want. That's the coolest thing about projectors. You need an inch grid, you can just increase it till you have that grid.
Yeah.
And boom,
and if you're gonna go that route, there's a great, I forget, it's on YouTube. I've subscribed to them, so I remember them. If I ever go that digital, either TV table route, they got some great sceneries. I don't know what Roll20's got. I'm sure they got like just a regular static maps, but they've got like motion maps where if you're on a ship and you've got birds flying, you got the waves going, they have dramatic lighting, so you can have it to be sunny, you can be at nighttime, you can do fog of war. You know, I don't know. They only let you get a free sample on YouTube, so you can watch it. But
you know what
I don't know what they're. I don't know how you buy it. But
if you get the chance, link us that site or link us that channel.
Oh man, it is beautiful, man.
I'd like to drool over it. You know what I'm saying?
Jeff
it's awesome.
Or when JD changes the music. Funny thing is, whenever my first group went into battle, I would always change the music on them.
Sure. I mean, if you
they knew when something was coming up. Stephen Hayhurst, hey, thanks for tuning in. I always thought Ravenloft was more suited for theater than mine.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I will say that for most of Ravenloft, it was theater of the mind. For most of it, it's about setting mood. And in fact, this goes back to when we were talking at the beginning about rules lawyers and stuff. One of the greatest memories of this campaign, of this entire D&D campaign that I've been running, was something that this new player, this problem player I have, his then girlfriend, she was in the game. She ended up, they broke up later, but she was in the game, and she was awesome though, because there was
single. I'm sorry.
No. She moved to the coast, so I don't know, but she was in a game, and I'll never forget this because she was brand new to D&D too, and they, by happenstance, I had them like having these little encounters with people in Barovia because the people there are really weird and creepy, and there's opportunities for stuff. It's not just like let's hunt down Strahd and kill him, right? You're like setting the mood. And early on, they met this old woman that was selling these like biscuits or like cakes, like these pastries.
Taco in a bag.
And they learned that the pastries were made of, they were like meat pies, and they suspected, because there was no meat around, they were wondering where it was coming from.
You Sweeney Todd them, bro?
Yep.
Yeah, and so they tracked her down to where she was, and she lived in this old windmill with her 2 sisters, and they were basically all hags that basically kidnapped.
No, we didn't.
And then they cooked them, and then they sold the meat. Right? They would
hurdle them.
Yeah. And so what happened was they were trying to figure out what was going on. The rogue snuck inside. That's the girl, this girlfriend. She was playing a rogue, and she was like trying to figure out what was going on. And she saw the oven, and she heard the cries of children in cages upstairs in the upper levels of the windmill. So she suspected something was up. At one point, the hag was like putting more buns in the oven, as it were. And the rogue spontaneously decided that she was going to kick her into the oven, right? And so she did. She pushed the hag in the oven, closed the door, and it was like this. Yeah, and it was basically this really spontaneous moment that none of the players expected. Like, this was not the main adventure. This was a complete voluntary side quest that they decided to do, and it went sideways in the best way because they had to, deal with not just this one hag that was turning into an actual hag, like a monstrous hag, but there were 2 other hags upstairs that felt the pain of the one that went in the oven, and they started to come down, and the players had to fight them. But it wasn't just a fight. They were also trying to buy time and try to keep that one hag in the oven, and so it became like this incredible memory that everybody in the game still remembers. And the reason why it was because it was completely spontaneous. There was no, tactics going on. It was more like last minute decisions. It was in character for them to do it. We didn't even use miniatures or a map because it was completely out of nowhere. And it was like it was the best memory of the campaign. And so like these are the things that we played for. Like we want to create these memories. And sure, it's a little cliche, but they had so much fun. I'm not going to take that away from them.
Yeah.
So
Hate says he has a projector.
And Zero has the popcorn.
Yeah. Jeff says mini projectors for $100 at Best Buy. And Spinner Knights says, "Hooray for dream pastries."
I really think a projector.
I think that's what
Oh my God! Yes,
They're saying that you can get a projector for $100 at Best Buy. Somebody said.
I really think that is the cheapest entry into going to the whole digital sort of tabletop map.
Yes, I remember that.
Sort of thing.
Now you will have to play with it being darker, won't you?
A little bit.
You're gonna try to mount the projector to the ceiling, I take it, and have it straight down.
The cheaper projectors, they don't have strong lighting, so you have to play in a little bit dimmer situation. But I mean, you set the mood too. That kind of sets the atmosphere. I mean, I've actually turned down the lights, and I've done things to try to involve the players or get them more immersed into the environment that they were in.
I don't think you have to look at like a touch screen, Zero TV that it's $1 million. If you can find at Walmart, they got specials all the time in that aisle where it's like a couple $100 for a pretty nice size TV.
Thinking, if it's just like a screen monitor that lays down and I can connect it to my laptop, then I can probably just use it as a second for my laptop and do that.
What you're gonna get is you're gonna get crisp quality. I mean, from a projector, like you said, you got to dim the lights. You got to make sure it's, you got to dial it in. Yeah. Which once you get it set, you'll be all right. But I don't think the clarity of having the pixels right there underneath is going to be the same. So you got to weigh the odds. 150. Are you willing to spend $350? It all depends on what you want to get into.
But you could probably get like a second-hand projector from some sort of clearance outlet, like a business that's selling their stuff. Even if you pay $50 for it, it's getting used to the tool set with the Photoshop and everything.
Yeah,
and then you really know what space to work with.
Apparently, Wish sells a projector for $32.
Yeah, well, Wish is
Wish
is a Chinese distributor, so you're ordering directly from China.
Yeah,
I've got a giant. I got the Storm Giant from Storm King's Thunder with the Thunderbolt coming from Hong Kong right now. It's on its way.
Oh, nice. Jeff says, get on Craigslist, find someone who has a flat screen.
It's got full of coronavirus.
Make sure you disinfect it before you start handling it.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna disinfect the box before I even touch the box.
Cujo,
hazmat suit.
Don't be surprised if that figure's resin.
What? It's a WizKids. It's a WizKids line. It's pre-painted.
A lot of times from China, they don't send you that. They actually send you a recast.
Hey, Evil's got the same one. Okay. He didn't say nothing.
Okay.
Oh,
he got it from the same. He got it from the same guy on eBay.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, that's different then.
So yeah,
it's eBay.
Yeah, Jeff says get on Craigslist, find someone that has a flat screen that has sound issue. If you don't care about the sound.
But hey, Brian, if you're thinking about doing that TV thing in the table, look on if you haven't already on YouTube. They've got where how to build it and put it into a frame and what it would cost. If you won't even want to get into that because I don't want to deal with wood and I don't know how good are you, handy are you. But it'll tell you how easy it is to make a little frame and how to do it and put a TV in it. If you're not even wanting to get into all that, because it's not just a TV and plop it on the table. It's a little bit more complicated than that, unless you don't care about it looking like that.
That's a smart one too, Jeff. Get a hold of a hospital and see if any of the flat screens are due to be retired.
Probably do the same on Craigslist as well, like cheap ass TV But then I think it'll be how big you want, or how much of an area you want to actually like put minis on and stuff like that. Is like a 42-inch TV going to be big enough, or you want smaller or bigger?
40-inch. Hospitals retire the 40-inch flat screens they use for advertising after so many hours.
To be honest with you guys, I've got a 75-inch TV, and I was thinking about upgrading to an 85, and I was going to turn my 75 into a tabletop. But
talking about going overboard.
I think it's a little bit too big. I think it's a little bit too overboard.
So what happens when you roll 20?
I think it's bigger than my kitchen table. I don't think it's going to work right.
Probably not.
We're gonna have like everybody getting electrocuted because they're like pouring their beers and spilling it out. This is not cool, guys.
So, you be running around putting coasters on everyone's drink. Don't do that.
Brian, did any of that help?
Yeah.
Any of that information help?
No, I'm gonna definitely look into the projector and the TV, like these guys are suggesting. Maybe like see what people have done. A tabletopper with a TV embedded in it could be good because then I don't have to get rid of I have to get rid of the dining room table,
right?
And I could just bring that out, And
you definitely need something for that TV to vent heat. That's the one
that's another reason why the tabletopper would be good too.
Yeah. You do have to worry with that double plan. The tabletopper is really cool. And when you mentioned that before, I've seen what you're talking about. I've seen that Kickstarter, and I looked at it. I thought it was kind of cool. And I totally get it. I totally get it. If you're going to be books and pens and paper and all that stuff, and even tablets for that matter.
Yeah.
And food and drinks and whatever. And
you can make those tabletops yourself.
Now, if it's up high, it's not good for you and me. If you're thinking about a TV screen up there or my Dwarven Forge up there, I want my Dwarven Forge sunk into the table so I can see it. The tabletop, you want it down on the table.
If it was like, if I had something that was more like a pool table, where you're looking down into it.
Yes. You have to be sitting up high. If you're going to make that screen high, you want to be able to see that screen. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get even higher.
Oh, I could get bar stools. Like right now, we just have little folding chairs, but if we had like bar stools.
And because the TV is going to have a poor viewing angle, so you're really going to have to sort of be up on a.
Mm-hmm. If you look by an IKEA, Brian, they got a glass top table that you can slide a TV underneath. That's like the bars is perfect for a 32-inch to slide underneath there.
Oh yeah.
What I would do, this is what I would do, Brian. If you go with if you go with the projector, that's going to be right under your table anyway. So you can build something that's only a few inches off the table. Not like I think that thing that you were talking about is probably more like almost 12 inches off the table.
No, it's
but if you were just enough to where you can get stuff underneath it and have given yourself that extra room, that's cool. I don't think you need the whole 12 inches, but if you were going to build a box for a TV and you're going to set it right on the table, you can actually just make some blocks and make some legs, the exact height you need, so it's not going to get it too high, and then that's basically your lift and where you can put your books and everything will fit underneath. So that's another idea too.
Stephen Hayhurst says this may be just my experience, but more reliant a DM becomes on visualizations, the thinner the storytelling becomes. The game becomes more of a tactical war game.
No, I don't agree. I disagree completely.
Why?
I half and half.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of agree to that.
I have encountered so many players that have benefited from the visual aid, and I never go over. I mean, I'm a war gamer. I'm a tabletop war gamer. Brian will tell you that straight up. Like, tabletop war games is my shit. Okay, I incorporated miniatures into my D&D games so that I could give players who did not have the ability to render those images themselves in their heads a visual cue, so they knew what they were doing and where they were going. It depends. I mean, if all you do is rely on it, sure, it could supersede your story, but that's on the GM. That's on the GM to control. If you got the skills to pay the bills as a GM, you could have 20 miniatures, you could have no miniatures, and your story will outshine whatever else is there. The miniatures are just there to aid the dungeon master.
I think it's just being smart with what maps you show the players. Like, if they're taking a road through the forest and it forks, if you've got like this whole map out and they're trying to get to one destination and they can see which direction to go, you've gone too far. But if you zeroed in more on it, and
here's the thing on that example, right? Like, let's just say that's the example. What would you need a map in miniatures for? If you're telling them they're traveling down a road and they need to decide between left and right on a fork, that's theater of the mind. There should be no minute. See, that's the thing. Some people go overboard when it comes to those miniatures. Not you, Cujo, but some people go to the point where they're literally trying to draw out everything that they want to describe as far as non-combat. Miniatures and maps are only for combat situations. Period. They should not be used outside of that. Like, you should be able to create the theater of the mind so that they can visualize everything they need to make their decisions. When it comes to combat is when I use miniatures and maps, because honestly, that's more for me.
That goes along with
I know
what
where the players are and the monsters are, rather than the players saying, no, I wasn't there, I hid behind the tree.
That goes along with what Jeff just said right here.
Yeah, I forget things, and having visuals helps me keep track of what is and has happened.
That's right. But like
that's what helps in the combat, and that's why it doesn't take from being a good DM if you can get them to that encounter.
Right.
You could present them that fork in the road in your mind, like theater of the mind. Just, hey, you got a fork. Do you want to go this way? This is what it looks like this way. This is what it looks like that way. And they don't know. Let them make their mind up, and then when they get to the encounter, you drop the encounter.
You guys would develop carpal tunnel in like a day if you had to draw everything you were describing, bro. Like,
well,
have you guys ever run the knock door?
Brian has carpal tunnel.
I don't want to miss. Yeah, I don't want to like misrepresent this guy's statement. I understand that is a real. He says in his experience, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a real danger, but I will say that the thing is that game systems like D&D, they lend towards a need for some visual representation when combat starts. Not like necessarily when and it depends on the combat. Like, if it's just like one enemy in like an empty space or like a room that has nothing in it, you can probably just handle that theater of the mind. But when you get into like involved things where people are using cover and they're moving and people are sneaking around and there's all these objects, and then you just need to bring that out. There are other game systems that don't rely on that as much. They tend to they tend to be a little bit more loose with the rules. Like Cyberpunk, you can take it or leave it. I'd like to see if it uses a little bit more like tactical stuff, because in the past it didn't really. And then there are some games like, I mentioned Hollow Earth and I mentioned Mothership, and there's like some where miniatures is impossible. Like, there's this one game I have called Legends of the Wu Lin. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's a wuxia like kung fu role-playing game, and characters in that game can literally fly. So like, there's no need, like there's literally, it's broken up into areas. You just say, I'm in this area and I'm fighting this guy, because movement is almost irrelevant, and like tactics, there's no flanking, there's none of that, because everyone knows kung fu. So it kind of depends on the system. But with D&D, when you should, I think, unless everyone agrees to it, you should be prepared to use miniatures for the combats, because you need to like know what area spells are affecting it. Otherwise, you're going to get into fights with people. Unless your players trust the DM to make a judgment,
yeah,
that's the only way. And the problem is that
Brian,
that almost never works out.
Brian, I always tell these guys a story about the character. I won't say his name, but the player who swung open a door and the wizard was on the other side of the door with a fireball spell. And when he got hit, he was like, no, I was behind the door when I swung it open. And the rest of the players were like, no, that's not what you said. That's not what you did. And we got into a huge argument about it that took up a big chunk of time that would completely have been avoided had we had a map and miniatures. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm just saying at the time.
Yeah, and then Dwarven Forge, I'd actually swing the door and I'd say, how did you get behind that door?
Yeah.
The point
I mean, I have a physical door.
Have you guys?
Those are the types of things that
happen when you open it.
Like, how'd you get under the door, the crack, and then behind it? How'd you do that?
I'm just saying that those are the kinds of things that happen when you don't have that visual representation.
Well,
and that
it's going to be really,
Hey, before I go, guys, I got about 2% battery left, so I'm going to be out of here in a second. I'm on a phone. I'm on a phone here. I had a question for Brian because he's brought up a lot of different games, and we don't really get that here. I haven't heard you mention the game that all these guys know that I'm itching to get. It's free to play right now. It's actually player made. It's just what do you want to call it? Just
homebrew.
Just somebody made it. It's Star Wars, but in 5th edition. And a group of guys have been making it, and they have a Discord group. I joined it, and once I found it, and I tried to print the player's handbook because it's ready to print, but I have to change the name. They told me to go back in there. I mean, I've seen the book printed before. It looks like an official Dungeons and Dragons book. I can't wait to get it and review it. And I've looked through it. You can look at all the digital copies for free. They have a monster manual. They've got like 4 books, including the PHB.
Steven, thanks for joining us.
But it's so good. Everything I've looked through is like exactly what I'd want. They've converted all the magic to make sense in the Star Wars world. It's just the way they did it. I mean, I haven't absorbed everything, but what I've seen is this. I'm loving it. I love it. There hasn't been anything I didn't like, so I went ahead to try to print it. But anyway,
real quick, Cujo,
yeah.
I just wanted to say, for Stefan, he said that he really enjoyed listening to the show tonight. He's got to bounce, but if we wanted to, we could check him out on the Facebook page, Dungeons and Dragons and Beer.
Yeah, great group.
Definitely, Steven. I'm gonna go check out your page.
It's awesome.
I'll be stalking you for a while, so just heads up. And you're always welcome to come join us on the Tabletop Dungeoneers Discord server. It's gonna be there. The link will be in the description of this video below. So thanks for joining us, man.
See you later, Stefan.
I appreciate your comments and conversation, brother. Thank you.
Sorry,
go ahead, Critical.
I was gonna say me and Stefan was actually in a group, and he posted something, and the group didn't like it and stuff, and he's like, well, it's totally related to the group, but okay, fine, whatever. So he left and made this group, and this group is so awesome.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's great. Basically, you can post anything you want.
I've been buying some Star Wars miniatures. I'm getting involved. My boys love Star Wars, so they're excited. I'm buying Star Wars Legions, which is a war game like 40K, but it's got dice pools. Well, I guess dice pools is similar to 40K too, but different style of dice pool.
Honestly, Cujo, if you could go on eBay and look for those Wizards of the Coast Star Wars,
I've seen them. I've been looking at everything.
Hundreds of them, bro. Like
I've seen them
sitting in a garage, man. I have
I'm not gonna waste all of it on there, but
and everything from the New Hope to Jedi. Like I have they came out with so much stuff for that game. It's just ridiculous. They should
because Wizard of the Coast had it before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I actually played Star Wars when it was when they made a 3rd edition version of it.
Yep.
How was it then?
3.0. Oh, I you know what? We didn't get to play it that much, but personally, I really enjoyed it.
Because I know when you said like when I play 5th edition, and that's my fantasy, then I play something totally different, when it's not 5th edition.
Well,
and I'm just happy that there's a 5th edition thing.
Yeah.
That I really am wanting to get involved in because I love the 5th edition rule set right now. I'm just really happy with it, and if I can play the Star Wars universe with it, I mean, I'm happy.
I think that I don't know how this one's different, but in the 3rd edition version, there were some changes to the system to make it more Star Warsy than D&D, and not just because they included elements of the Star Wars universe, like the Force and Jedis and stuff, but actual mechanics. Like, for example, they had hit points, but they also had actual health points. So your health points were equal to your character's constitution. And if you were hit with a critical hit or under certain conditions, it wouldn't do damage to your hit points. It would do damage to your actual health points. So it was you had this real sense that you could be in real danger even if you had a lot of hit points. The hit points acted more like, exhaustion, exertion. I mean, yes, you would take damage to your hit points, but instead of for example, if you're fighting a Sith and he hits you with a lightsaber and he does damage to your hit points, it's not that he cuts you with the lightsaber, because obviously that would hurt a lot. It's
that would cost him.
The blocking or the evasion has caused you to get a little bit exerted. You're getting tired. You're getting winded, and so that's how it reflects, right? And so if you get criticaled or some other condition meets that, then it's the lightsaber actually stabs you, or it hits you on the arm or whatever. And so they had a bit of a different system to it, which I liked a lot. But my favorite thing about it was that I got to play as a Gungan, and I was trying to make my Gungan as awesome as possible. And he really was. So, but yeah, I like the Star Wars game.
Just real quick, guys. Spiel says that he used to play the old West End games, Star Wars version. I remember that game. I don't know if we played it, Brian, but no. I do remember the West End version.
That was Star before. Wars. That was when you roll all the D6s.
Yeah. I remember that. Now, Spiel, I just wanted to apologize real quick to him too, because he's been really active in the chat, and I want to thank you for that. And we just not getting to you, and I apologize. I'm gonna work on getting better at getting to the chats and stuff like that. So don't feel like we're ignoring you, because we're not. I
apologize for that too.
I'm not a fast reader here.
A lot of us, I can't see the chat personally. I'm on StreamYard, and I was trying to keep my tablet open so I can try to read chat, but I'm I'm delayed. So
the comment about systems, I just want to make this comment about systems. If you like the D&D system and it meets your needs for any number of other settings, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's fine. I think that it's more of a universal system. But the kinds of tabletop games that I really like are the ones where the system is built to complement the themes and genres of the game itself.
Right.
So for example,
like feng shui.
Feng Shui is a really good example, where it's basically it's based on Hong Kong action movies with magic and martial arts and Chow Yun Fat gunplay.
Yeah,
and it uses
flying in the air doing kung
fu. Yeah, and it uses 2d6s. One represents yin, one represents yang. You roll them together, and then you determine what happens. And it's done. It's even plays out like a movie in shots and scenes, as opposed to games that use rounds, or Deadlands, where at least the version I used to play, which is basically it's called the Weird West. It's a Wild West game with magic and monsters and demons and stuff and undead, and so you play Deadlands using poker cards and chips and dice. So it lends into the game. Some of them lean harder than others. Another really great one is Legend of the Five Rings, which is samurai, right?
That used to be a card game.
Yeah, it started off as a card game, and then they made it into a tabletop RPG. And Legend of the Five Rings uses D10 pools, but there's also this thing called raises, where you basically make a gamble to raise the difficulty of doing something to get a more awesome effect. So it's one thing to just hit your guy and do damage, hit an enemy and just do damage to them. Or you could just try to, cut off their mustache with your katana without actually hurting them. And it serves a different purpose. So it encourages people to behave in a different way. And so systems that do that are sort of catered to a genre are the ones that I really get into. But I think that there are other systems like the D20 one that are well purposed for just about anything, provided that they're not just doing a one-to-one translation from D&D over to this other thing, and they they add something to it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and I watched like an hour and a half video of this guy trying to, the Fantasy Flight Games that owns the Star Wars, they have a role-playing game as well, and he tried to go like over and over how their system is good. And I haven't played the system yet. I just bought the box sets for the war game that they have, and I've watched people play. I've seen how the dice pool kind of works, but I haven't played it myself. But I believe the role-playing game is very similar. I think they almost use the same dice set. So it's pools of dice, and it's there's not even numbers on half the dice. So yeah, there's a learning curve. Is it good? I mean, the way he described it, yes, it's good. He likes
probably
it.
Is. I wouldn't be surprised.
What? Star Wars Legion?
Star Wars
5th edition.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, Star Wars Roleplay. The 5th edition version, I'm sure is good. That's easy to get transitioned into. But this Final or Fantasy Flight Games that also does the Legions, has Armada, and they also have Roleplay. So they have 3. So they all use the same dice sets.
Fantasy Flight Games, they acquired the license before George Lucas sold, like
to
right
Disney.
Before because Wizards of the Coast had the licensing, and they made all the variants as well back in the day, and then they lost the license, or it just expired, I think, and then Fantasy Flight took over and they got it, which is why they created like all the different levels of gaming for, like, they milked Star Wars basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They made a miniatures game, they made a spaceship game, they made the role-playing game, and a lot of it's compatible. I mean, if you're a savvy DM, could put all that together and make an incredible game, so
so basically, if you're playing D&D, playing 5e, I'd love to be able to just easily transition. The rules, the actions, the bonus actions, but you're gonna have to learn your new characters. You're gonna have to learn some force powers and all this kind of stuff, and how there's no more magic spells. Throw them out the window. They've converted some of the magic spells that make sense, like force lightning. Oh, I wonder what that's like. What kind of spell that would probably be like. So there's some spells that carried over and they just kind of reflavored. But some things are just out the window. But anyway, it looks really interesting to me. I know that it'd be easy to transition. I love the system. I don't have any problem with it. I don't really want to learn Fantasy Flight Games 1. Plus, just to get off this topic and be done with it, they made the role-playing game, but they made it like 3 different major books. There's tons of overlap in the rules. If you really want to be able to have access to everything, you got to buy these expensive books, and you're buying duplicate stuff. You're only getting a little bit out of this one, a little bit out of that one, a little bit out of this, and then you got all these other books to get. It's just, to me, it doesn't seem worth it.
Well, here's the thing too, though.
Not that interested into getting all involved in that.
Fantasy Flight is I've played a ton of their board games. I've played a ton of their miniature games. I've read a lot of the books that they write. They are very supplement rules and accessories heavy. I don't know if you've ever bought a Fantasy Flight board game, but you're gonna.
They print shitloads of stuff for every game, like
templates and tokens and markers and.
Well, I've got both starter sets now.
Yeah, they print out a ton of stuff. When you get a Fantasy Flight game, you got to buy a shelving unit just for all the shit that comes in that game. So I mean, that's one of those things, right? You have to expect that from them because that's just what they do,
Yeah, I'm just buying it primarily for the miniatures and. Buy what I like and what I think I might need for what I would like to run. Just collecting, basically.
We're going on 11:53, so I wanted to kind of just recap what we went over and see if there's anybody in the chats that's still there talking to us. What do you call it? I can't see who that is, but he says he loves Sir Percival. He says he loves Percival. He loves Deadlands. Percy. I actually like Deadlands. I like the theme of it. I think I played it at Gen Con. I think we did a quick game of it at Gen Con, and when they turned it into a miniatures game, I tried it too. It was pretty cool. Definitely an interesting atmosphere for a game. But as far as tonight, so we went over basically how to deal, and I think with all the different perspectives that we had, with the exception of Cujo, because he doesn't have bad players, we got a lot of insight as to how to deal with difficult players and players who just, and I feel like I don't consider a person difficult until I come to the conclusion that I cannot move forward with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's when you come to the point where, like, okay, this is a difficult person. We're not going to be able to move forward.
Get that thumb away.
Thumb.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to progress. And the rest of the players, like you said, Brian, and that's my biggest thing. Like you said, it's the compromise of the other players. If the players bow down to it, then you have a problem, right? You have a bigger problem than just that guy being a douchebag. You have a problem with players not being confident in themselves enough to stand for themselves.
What's happening is it may not be intended this way, but it can like sort of spiral out of control into a kind of bullying. Right. And so the other players have to basically say, they don't have to be mean to that player, but just say, what you're doing is not going to impact what we're doing. Right. And the DM is going to stand with us, and we're going to do things our way. And to sort of like get ahead of that, you have to have a Secession Zero where you have to figure out what the players are hoping to get out of the game. And also, as DM, you have to basically establish your boundaries and say, look, if there's a rules conflict and I've like genuinely made a mistake, and you can give me a brief correction that won't slow the game down, because the goal is we only get to play this so frequently and we only have so much time, and so we don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. I make mistakes. I'm only human. I don't take the rules too seriously. So yeah, offer me a correction. But if I do something and you think it's wrong, but I've been doing it for a while, and you correct me, I may not change it that session. I may just like keep doing it that way for the sake of consistency, and then we'll just deal with it next time. So yeah, you got to chill out on that. But figure out what players want. Don't let the rules lawyers or the disruptive people ruin the game. And when push comes to shove, if you know, after you've explained your position and what it is that you want to get out of the game, and make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of our goals, then if they, despite all of that, they want to continue to be a nuisance, then you gotta tell them to go. I don't know what to tell you. It's not personal. Right. We can still be friends, but you're not.
Jeff, I'll send you the link to the Star Wars 5e conversion.
So, I found it
tonight.
You already found it?
So Grim, real quick.
Hey Jeff, if you want, join us on the Tabletop Engineers group. There's a link in there.
They have a digital thing where you can make your own character and everything. And
I'm actually looking at it right now.
It's awesome.
So real quick before we go, Grim, you got any final thoughts you want to add?
I think Brian summed up a lot of it. I'm gonna say with the whole terrain and minis thing, because I've played for 32 years, I've never actually used miniatures playing D&D or terrain or that sort of thing. But I'm making terrain. I've got minis starting to arrive this week, so I'll start painting. It'll be interesting to see how it changes for me as a DM who's used to running.
You seem excited. You seem excited about it.
So I'm gonna get back to that in a second, Grim. Trust me. I got something for you. Cujo, any final thoughts on the topics tonight? Because I mean, like I said, you didn't really have any bad players, so to say, and thankfully, you haven't had them yet. I never will. I'm
a perfect DM.
Oh, okay. That's right.
He's the overboard DM.
I primarily have family and friends and friends of friends. So
totally. I mean, dude, you're lucky. You lucked out.
If you go online and try to start playing with people, you're gonna play with all kinds of random people, and
there's a ton of keyboard cowboys out there.
Yeah, you're gonna have problems.
So Critical, what are your thoughts? Your thoughts on the discussion tonight? I mean, you're still new. You're a new DM. I know. So
I'm still learning.
This is school for you.
You know what? That's why I've been just sitting back listening, because I'm actually learning.
Okay.
So know.
So, yeah, I can't. Brian, you took the words out of my mouth, dude. You summed it up. And like I said before, to come to a point where I can consider someone difficult, it has to be beyond negotiation, right? Like beyond communication, beyond my attempts to correct the situation, right? And the rules lawyer thing, I've said many times before, I take advantage of that person and just put them in charge of helping me keep track of rules that need to be discussed, right? Like I'm going to keep moving on with the game, but my rules lawyer is going to definitely be looking it up and helping me discern what the truth is, that way. Next week, if we get together and do the show, I wanted to go over. I have the subject picked, and I know, Crit, don't shoot me. But
why would I shoot you?
I have a
just because I have your address. I can just show up to your door and be like, "Stop taking over."
Hey, there's no gunpowder, so you can't shoot them.
Yeah, exactly.
I cast fireball. I cast fireball.
I want to talk about using theater of the mind, and this is going to be controversial. I know somebody's going to get mad and be pissy, but I want to talk about using theater of the mind versus miniatures and maps next week. So we're going to close with that, and if anybody's listening, paying attention, you guys want to join in on that conversation, please, again, feel free. We love having you guys on with the chat. Brian, I want to thank you for coming on. I know it was a little late, but you still came on. Grim, I know you're in Australia, bro, so it's like daytime for you, but it's like midnight for us. I appreciate you jumping on with us like you've been doing, brother. It's been amazing to have you on.
I love having you, bud.
Yeah, Cujo, as always, bro. You know, much love. Crit, same thing. Any of you guys got any plugs? Brian, you want to plug your what you're doing?
Sure. I mean, I don't talk about D&D as my job on YouTube. I'm a producer at Honey Badger Radio, specifically our second YouTube channel, which is called Badger Live Streams, where I do live shows. We mainly talk about political things, specifically with men's issues. And I get lots of great guests on. I've had people from all over the world. I've had people who are MPs. Yeah, Jordan B. Peterson's been on the show. I've gotten to talk to comedian Owen Benjamin. I've been very lucky. So we mainly are
cool.
What?
I said it's cool.
Oh yeah, thank you. We're mainly a channel that talks about men's issues. It's run by women. I just happen to be the producer because they need somebody who understands the tech. I guess I'm kind of a token dude that's on the show. And the channel is Badger Live Streams or Honey Badger Radio. So
we're gonna put the link for that channel in the description. If matter of fact, Brian, if you can send Critical on the Discord, send him the links on the Discord so we can add it to the description for this video.
Yeah, give me a second here.
So, do you got anything you want to plug? I mean, I'm sorry, Brian, is that it? You good?
Yeah.
Kick off again. Love it, cuz.
Yeah, for now, that's it. For now.
All right. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on, bro. Grim, you got anything you want to plug?
Just, I'll be having some more videos come out with my campaign building thing, the world thing. That should hopefully be ramping up this week. I'm looking forward to smoking everybody in the thrift store challenge for the Tabletop Dungeoneers, so people can jump on the Discord and watch me rise to victory.
I just want to back was there, brother. Wow, this Aussie. He's like, I'm going to put another shrimp in the barbecue and roast you guys.
Well, listen, I got to ask you guys this real quick. In all honesty, since Thaco and I were the only two that built towers, do we get a pass for this one?
You guys can judge.
No, I want to get in.
No, you can get in, but Thaco and Canadian, they're disqualified because they've already started.
So Cujo, you got anything coming up you want to talk about?
No. I'm gonna probably. I might have one day off now after I don't know if I'm gonna get another video out here pretty soon, but I've got a lot of miniatures I want to do reviews on. I've got a lot of projects on my Dwarven Forces I want to do. I've got some Star Wars stuff I'd like to get into a little bit. How to I want that 5e. I want to talk about it in some of my videos.
Absolutely.
But I go overboard on everything Dungeons and Dragons on my channel. So
nothing wrong with that.
Description below.
Critical, you got anything coming up?
Yeah, I got next week. I got a video coming up on how to store some flat miniatures and stuff, and how I transport them.
Okay.
I think it's going to be very useful for the people who has them. So
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Myself, I'm continuing to just work on my projects. I still have the Gypsy House, so I've been actually contemplating doing another live show on my own, sometime during the week, not on Fridays. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I'm thinking about starting a live stream show on my own. Of course, you guys are welcome to jump in, but it won't always be Dungeons and Dragons because, as you guys know, I have a ton of different hobbies that I'd like to talk about. That
you have zero hobbies.
Nothing against anybody in this group, but
zero hobbies.
I like I said, I got a lot of different topics to bring up, and so I want to try something with that. So, I mean, if whoever's following me, I obviously I appreciate it, but just stick with me because I'm working on something. So. That's what I've got.
Same channel?
Same channel, same time. Yeah, it's going to be because that's. I've had people ask me.
I know.
Separate channons, but no, it's all me.
Some people do channels for just their live streams.
Right, right, and I don't want to do that. But anyway, for those in the chat and watching or who watch, thank you guys for joining us. We obviously appreciate it, and like I said, we're gonna work on the chats. We're gonna get that locked down eventually.
I'm thinking maybe 5 minutes.
Thank you.
One other thing for people, and we'll put the links in the Discord somewhere. So we've been picked up on a few different platforms now as far as podcast version of this show goes. So it's basically just a rip of the audio. Upload. We use Anchor, so we're on Spotify, Google have approved us, that sort of thing. If you use any of those things, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. Just helps us get some analytics and a bit of coverage. I don't expect you to watch this and then go back and listen to it at all. Or if you're playing it on your computer before you go to bed, just hit play and let it play a few episodes on Spotify with the sound off. As much as I hate power gaming, we're going to metagame the podcast world now and try to put things in our way.
But we're going to get the links for all those podcast channels. We'll start putting those in our descriptions for the show as well, so that people can actually go out and follow those too if they want to. Like you said, it's pretty much the same show, just the audio. Yeah. So,
hey Grim, when do they usually hit the podcast form? I've been wondering about that.
It usually takes a few hours for YouTube to properly process this video so I can download the audio, and then I upload it, and it's usually within a few hours. It probably won't happen today because I'm away for a work function, but tomorrow I'll rip it and do it. It'll be in the next day or so.
Yeah,
it'll be available and show up in your feeds.
That leads me to that's a good point. I wanted to segue that into the something that came up a couple weeks back with our show. Some of our Discord members were having a hard time uploading the show or watching it again after it was finished. When you do a live stream, it takes YouTube a while to actually formulate that video and actually get it completed.
Yeah, to process it. Yeah,
the processing time takes longer than, and also guys, it also depends on your download speed as well. The faster your speed, obviously, the quicker you're going to get it. But at least give us, a couple hours after the show finishes before you start trying to download or watch the show.
And that's to propagate out to all the data centers around the world. So some geographical locations will have the full one before others. So.
Right. So, all right, guys. I think we're gonna shut it down on that, right? I think we did pretty good here. I feel like
I think it was a good show tonight, guys.
Yeah. I think if you roll a 20.
It's a critical.
Hey, drink.
I've been waiting all night for that. Okay, I've been waiting all night for that.
You're gonna only get one per show. Okay.
It's my show.
It's not rating high with the fans.
You. Hey, here's my thumb. Here we go. My thumb.
All right, guys.
If anything, again, thank you for joining, and hopefully we can have the same kind of group next week.
Awesome. Right. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Night. Again, guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a nice night.